Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 443. Is that what I said before we started?
I wasn't listening.
Or was it 434?
I was trying to get my Wi-Fi in order, so you know.
Look, I am so sleep deprived for this week's
Look, guys,
recording.
the number will be correct when you click on this.
Yes. The thumbnail and the number in the title will all be correct. It's 443. I was right. Okay. It's just the number's getting so astronomically high that I'm doubting it now every single time I say it.
So what you're saying is we need to go with the relaunch. We'll find younger versions of us.
That's right. Yes, we have to reboot.
We'll just relaunch.
Yeah, with 22-year-old Peter and 26-year-old Matt, whatever age you would have been equivalent.
If you think I was any better than I am now, if you thought my love of Guy Gardner was annoying, wait till you meet mid-20s me.
Oh, jeez. So yes, welcome everyone. It's the DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the DC books we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Detective Comics 1093, Superman 22, Wonder Woman 17, Absolute Wonder Woman issue 4, Justice League Unlimited issue 3, Black Canary Best of the Best issue 3, Matt read Metamorpho the Element Man issue 2, and I've got a Patreon book of Planetary issue 5. I did not read Metamorpho for any reason other than just I was short on time due to my sleep deprivation today, and that's pretty much it. If I'm motivated, I may catch up for next month's issue, but Matt did read it, so you'll give some thoughts on it. But that is what is coming up on the show today. So yes. Plus, Solicits is a thing that we've got, which I don't know if we ever had Solicits on a week 4. I mean, the only thing I can think of maybe is when it was like the month of a convention and they wanted to hold back because they had big announcements they wanted to put in the convention that would have been after the regular Solicits day. But that's the only scenario I can think of where we didn't get Solicits until the week 4 of comics.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they always seem to come in the mid, not at the end. So
yeah, it's always week 2 or 3, depending on what day the month started on.
Yep.
So week 4 just feels really weird and really late, but hey, whatever. It's here now, and we'll soldier on. Yes. How's your weather been abnormal the last few days, Matt?
Not abnormal. It has been colder than it normally is for this time of year. We were in the in Fahrenheit, the low 20s at one point this week. Still doesn't stop me from wearing shorts, much to the dismay of everybody at work. My legs don't get cold. Everywhere else gets cold. But today we got some cloud cover, and it might be cold enough if we get any kind of precipitation that it could snow, but I doubt that we'll see any.
Matt's complaining about it being slightly cold. We had gale force winds yesterday, okay? We had 77 miles per hour winds.
Oh, that's hurricane weather, my guy.
Yeah, there was trees getting knocked down and all sorts. We got a red alert the night before saying, hey, don't go outside tomorrow. It's actually dangerous. Stay indoors.
Wow.
So
because where you live is hilly, right?
Yeah.
So it'll create some wind tunnels down there near the bottom.
No, I think this was like a bigger. I haven't looked into it, to be honest, but I think this was like a bigger thing because it was like the entire sort of region was getting hit with it. Because I remember gale force winds like that happening, but it's like a maybe once or twice a decade type thing.
Yeah.
It's not a frequent occurrence.
We'll get winds that come up and around, and they'll break some trees. There's a tree in my neighborhood that was kind of hanging over the sidewalk from someone's backyard, and that branch was no longer there after a recent windstorm. But that's pretty normal winter weather. Although from our coldest months tend to be January, February, but the last couple of years hasn't been as bad. This year it's back with a vengeance. So I had at work had to clean up some ice, so that was fun. I've created an ice sheet.
Nevada
outside.
Man encounters ice for first time and doesn't know how to cope.
Well, yes, So that was fun. That's because there was a leak on the outside of the building, and yeah.
Wait, is that why you like ice hockey so much? Is because ice is so alluring and like, oh, this is mystical stuff that we don't have here.
It's that, but really, it's just really physical, and it's how I can get my barbarian traits out. You know, just people hitting each other with sticks and running into boards, and you know. But yeah, no, ice is no fun. I almost fell 3 or 4 times trying to clear this stuff. So, yeah.
You're just not used to every winter having to deal with frosty road. I mean, admittedly, it's not been too bad this year, but like some winters, there's like just a stretch in like January and February where it'll just be a little icy, like all the time, and you just have to be braced for like slippy like pavement when you're walking outside, and it's just the way it is.
You look like Marv in Home Alone 2 when he gets out on the ice.
You're shuffling. You're sort of shuffling a bit to avoid falling. Yeah, but if you're lucky, you'll see like an old granny like deck it.
If you're lucky. I remember when I was in college, there was this really old building that had really uneven, they weren't exactly steps, but it was like terraced. So you would come down them like they were steps, but they were super uneven because they were so old. And I remember this older lady just eating it so hard and going over there trying to help her. And she got mad at me because I was laughing. But the point was I went over there to see if she needed help, you know? But yes.
I mean, yeah, she can still have a sense of humor about it. I mean, she's probably humiliated and feeling helpless and whatnot, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so yes, everyone, it's the DC Comics podcast, believe it or not. We'll get into things. We got obviously our Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10 to start things off, as we always do. Looking at Wednesday's books, Matt, what do you think number 1 was?
I'm gonna go with the tried and true method for the last couple months, and I say Absolute Wonder Woman 4.
That is incorrect.
What? Is there a new X book? Hold on. No new X book that's on this. At least not in the first 3.
Yep, scanning.
Yeah. What else? Is it Justice League Unlimited?
Nope.
What? Wow. Again, tried and true method has not let me down this hard. Yeah, no new X book I don't see. All right, well, I'll just... Has Tech been selling well? I don't know what else has been selling well over there. I'll throw out the first X book I see, and that's Uncanny X-Men.
I'm afraid not, no.
Okay, 3 strikes, you're out. What was number 1?
Maybe there was a new character or something big happened, but Ultimate Spider-Man 13.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know why, but...
That hasn't been near the, I don't think that's been in the top 3.
No,
last couple months.
I don't even think it's been in the top 5 that much. At least that I can remember in recent memory. But
what is this?
Yeah, number 2 is Absolute Wonder Woman.
Yeah, see, tried and true.
Number 3 is Justice League Unlimited. Number 4 is Uncanny X-Men. So you guessed 2 through 4 in that order. So I mean, you can't be too mad at that.
No. So apparently it's the introduction of an Ultimate Sinister Six. And their ringleader is Kingpin. So yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
Okay.
It's Hickman, so I mean it's not that weird. But yeah.
All right, number 5 is Superman, and number 6 is X-Men Xavier's Secret, issue 1. Number 7 is Wolverine's Revenge. It's another Hickman book. Number 8 is Wonder Woman. Number 9 is Detective Comics, and number 10 is Phoenix. So we got, well, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the top 10 were DC, and then the other 5 were Marvel. It was literally an even split between the 2. So, yeah.
So that Xavier Secret book isn't even in the top 15 on League of Comic Geeks. So, really big showing there.
Yeah. As for all the DC books, Black Canary was number 13, so just not too far away from that top 10. And then I'm going quite far to get to the next thing. Yeah, Metamorpho was down at was that 17? Flash is number 20. Yeah, Flash ain't doing so hot, down at number 20.
No, and I saw people this week on Reddit talking about how funny it is, and I'm like, if I have time, maybe I'll go back and get caught up. But that was a Herculean that was a Herculean task before. So
Stop saying you'll catch up in things you drop, Matt. If you drop something, the point was to drop it.
No, I know, but Flash is one of those characters, a lot like Superman, where I've just always read. Like, it's been very rare for me not to be reading a Flash book in some way, shape, or form. So yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I don't have anything else to add. That's there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto book that's out this week, issue 2 of that, which that's a weird combination for me, because up until now, even though not all of them made complete sense, but like Turtles, Power Rangers were 2 of the things I was into, so a crossover comic made a lot of sense to me. Turtles, Ghostbusters, bit weirder, right? I like both those things, and I grew up with both those things, but a bit of a stranger matchup. But Naruto's something from like the Next Generation's stuff. I don't know Naruto.
Yeah. I only know Naruto from telling the kids at my job, no Naruto running. And that was something from like 5-6 years ago. I'm talking pre-pandemic. So yeah, that is my one touchstone. So seeing the crossover with Ninja Turtles, I just go, okay, I guess they're both ninjas.
I mean, what are the kids in today? What would be the modern
brother, I don't know. I had a kid ask me something about Fortnite, and I'm like, I don't know your video games. It's kind of like us now, where we're all kind of split into our own little things. I don't think there's a monoculture youth thing, So I know a lot of them are into manga and anime right now.
And anime's only gotten bigger since I was. I had a niche following when I was young, but anime is kind of like a mainstream thing now. And I'm like, I'm so alienated by this. But on you go, knock yourselves out.
But yeah, like, I don't know what shows they're watching or anything. I think a lot of it's streaming. I still know a lot of it's video game related. But yeah, so I just look at them now and go, why are you talking to me?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the Turtles have already been in Fortnite. That's definitely already hammed.
Well, I know Godzilla's in Fortnite too. So like, I have no idea what the point of Fortnite is.
Random celebrities have been in Fortnite. It's not even just fictional characters. It's that. Yeah. That widespread is so weird, but anyway, enough old man rant for the time being. So we have Solicits. Just before Solicits, I just mention the one little bit like unrelated to that news. There was a photograph tease of the Supergirl movie, Women of Tomorrow, this week. Now, it wasn't really when I read the headline, James Gunn shares photo of the actress as they're about to start production, I thought, oh, we're going to see the outfit. And no, she's literally, it's the actress is sitting with her back to the camera in her, like, her, like, director's chair, but it's like a super logo on it instead of, director, or her name. And I'm like, oh, I mean, it's a neat photo, but it's literally just the back of a woman's head. Like, there's nothing.
It's a production photo.
Yeah.
Like, it's the back of a blonde woman.
Do you remember when he did the first photo of like Superman in costume, right? That first image you put out, right? Yep. And we all kind of went, this was a weird choice to be the first thing you show, because he's moody, it's dark outside, it's like we want this to be the opposite of what Zack Snyder did, and you're giving us this moody shot. Now obviously we've seen the trailer now, we're seeing moments where he's protecting kids, and it's like, he's clearly the Superman we want is there. But well, in theory, I mean, we'll wait to see the movie to get a final judgment, but definitely a lot more promising now. And somehow he did worse for Supergirl, where it's not even in character.
Yeah.
This is her sitting on her chair and set.
Yeah. Although, look around, it looks like they're on a bar set, so seems like it's going to be a bar scene, which, if I remember Woman of Tomorrow...
That's what it started, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So, that's good. Craig Gillespie, I'm pretty, should be pretty good. We'll I'm what's the right? Cautiously optimistic for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they have said it's a loose adaptation, so we'll see like how much of the story they follow. I do wonder what they're going to do with the outfit, because like, while obviously in Women of Tomorrow she did have a more traditional outfit, although was it a blue skirt instead of a red skirt, which is not untraditionalist, because that's a classic thing as well.
I know, I remember being a red skirt.
Yeah, it might have been, I don't know, because they've switched back and forth with that over the years. You know, I could see them doing like the current canon look. You know, the jacket.
The jacket.
I could see
the
them
blue
doing
pants.
that to make it look different.
Yeah,
But we'll see. We'll see.
I'm gonna look because now I have to know what her outfit was in there.
Are you checking?
Yeah, because I remember the story beats, but I don't remember costume that well. So yeah, I'm just looking at the it was the red skirt.
Red skirt.
At least on the cover of
I feel like there
collection
was something slightly different about the overall look, though. That I can't remember what the difference was now from like what I usually think of.
Yeah.
Was it like, the belt was different? Maybe.
Could be the belt's more like looks kind of like a almost like a wrestling belt, like a title belt, a big, so instead of the traditional keep your pants up.
That's what I'm thinking of. It's just the big sort of pointy gold belt thing she had. That's right.
There's that. Covers her midriff, so it takes away that kind of, the mid 2000s midriff skirt look, which it's a good decision.
I mean, they solved that before just by giving her a top that wasn't a crop top.
A shirt that fits. She also has the really, really, really long boots, the ones that go like up past her thighs, up underneath the skirt. So instead of, the knees. But yeah, so if they give her the jacket look though, that's modern. I'm not upset at that. I think that one fits her. Like I don't need every super character wearing the jacket look like we've gotten in some of the pages, but it does fit Kara.
Yeah, I do like the classic look. I could also see the situation where they have that jacket look for most of the movie, but she suits up in classic attire for the finale. Like, it's just like, I'm going to go and do the full thing.
Yeah.
As a moment of like inspiration.
I'm going to embrace my heritage of my cousin type stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, so Solicits are the main thing here. We have Solicits for April of 2025. We're going to work through them and see what goodies are in here. And the first thing that is in the Solicits is Summer of Superman Special Issue 1, written by Dan Slott, Joshua Williamson, and Mark Waid. So 48 pages, one shot, presumably without even looking at the description. I'm going to take a wild stab and say that this is going to be 3 stories by 3 writers who are all doing Superman or Superman related books ongoing, basically. Slott's about to start his at this point, and the other 2, of course. I mean, I don't know what Mark Waid's doing specifically. Maybe it's just going to tie into his Justice League Unlimited or whatever. But
because Slott's doing Superman Unlimited.
Oh no, World's Finest. That's what it says in the solicit.
It's World's Finest.
Yeah, he's okay. So we're doing a World's Finest tie-in in there. So I mean, obviously the highlight of that will be whatever 16 pages you get, which is effectively going to be the first part of Slott's Superman run.
Yeah, and it's all done by George Jimenez. So, or Jorge.
That's Jorge.
Did we call him George? Yeah. I don't know. I worked with the guy who spelled it the same and preferred to be called George. So that's where my brain went first.
So did I once upon a time, but I think it was more he was just sick of dumb white people not being able to say it properly.
Constantly correcting them into Jorge. But yeah, it's Jimenez doing all 3, it looks like, too, which is cool.
So, this is something to do. Probably, it's probably about once a year you'll get a special like this where it's like 3 or 4 stories and they all kind of tie into what's going on soon. You got a dog or a cat scratching something there?
Yeah, I got my cat using her box right now at the most inopportune time.
Yes, I recognize that sound well.
Yeah.
So we got Superman special. We got Superman issue 25 by Williamson, art by Dan Mora, Eddie Barrows, and Eber Ferreira. So Mora's finally slowing down a little bit. He's got 2 other artists on this issue, so we'll see how that goes. But that's also a biggish. Why? Oh, it's got its 25. Yeah, it's okay. 25 and 75 is another excuse to do a slightly oversized issue. Fair enough. Who am I to judge?
The only time Gillum March art fits Superman is when he has kryptonite poisoning. I just want to point that out.
Very good, very good. And then we have Action Comics 1085 by G. Willow Wilson and art by Gavin Guidry.
Sign me up. As if I don't already read this. But Wilson and Guidry, heck yeah.
Yeah, I think she's an interesting name to get after Ridley.
Ridley?
Yeah, Ridley's on it just now. Did we know this before that she was going to be next, or is this just the first we're hearing of it?
This is new for me. Maybe you guys did, because I missed last Solicits.
No,
That was the episode that I missed. So
because the last one would have been March, so it would have been the last Ridley issue.
okay.
So
So this is news to me. So this is good.
yeah. And then that absolute Superman cover with the flying in front of the moon's quite pretty. But the Absolute Superman issue 6 is next. Art by Carmine Di Domenico on this issue.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very different from what's
from
been in
Sandoval.
that book. Yeah, for sure. We got a facsimile edition in the middle of the Solicits. Don't like that. Next up, we got Superman Last Days of Lex Luthor issue 3 by Mark Waid and Brian Hitch.
Paint me surprised.
The final, no, they like waited until the second and third issue were both done before they dared solicit either of them. So yeah, it's coming 1 month after issue 2. What a world. Superman the World. This is a graphic novel. Hardcover. By Dan Jurgens, Jorge Jimenez, Satoshi Miyagawa, Stepan Kopriva, a doctor. Oh my, we're getting fancy.
Yeah, so this is, before you butcher the rest of these names, these are all international creators telling stories of Superman. So like they did the Batman one.
Okay, yeah,
right,
okay, I remember. Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Ejob Gaius, and then Jefferson Costa Sylvian. And then some artists are there as well, but I've butchered enough names on that, so I'll leave it to the writers. So yeah, it's a big anthology book, which is coming out in hardcover, and like you said, but had that with Batman first, so cool. We got Batman 159. This is part of the Hush storyline, or Hush 2, I should say. So Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, and then we have Absolute Batman issue 7. By Snyder and Marcos Martin. And we get Absolute Wonder Woman issue 7.
Ooh, that's a good cover with Diana and Cersei.
Yes. Some Dustin Win art on that issue. That may be interesting.
Yeah.
Very unique style. Does Dustin Win?
Don't usually associate him with Wonder Woman, right? Like it's usually Wednesdays in Gotham traditionally. So that's cool.
Even I don't really associate him with like superheroes that much. I usually, I think of his Jeff Lemire work and stuff like that. But that's cool. Absolute Green Lantern issue 1 finally solicited, with a couple of cool covers, honestly, for that one, by Al Ewing and Jahoni Lindsay. Without the core, without the ring, without the willpower, what's left is the Absolute Green Lantern. So that is cool.
Seems like that's not a Green Lantern. No core, no ring, no willpower. All right. We'll see.
She's summoning green energy from somewhere, all right?
Yes. No, I know this, but just the whole thing was like, you're telling me this is a Green Lantern book? I am shocked.
We're firing green bolts of lightning from our arse. There you go. That's what it is. Absolute Flash issue 2, Jeff Lemire with Nick Robles. Matt likes the cover.
I like that cover.
I could tell. I just went to go sucking it in. Yeah. Then we got Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 2. Do you know what's so funny is we're using Ape Comics for the solicits this time, and I like it because the covers are so big. But because they put all the covers like really big, I'm like, I can see what the book's going to be before I can actually read it. So I'm sort of like saying it and hoping I'm right. Yeah. Which is why I messed up early when I thought it was going to be Detective and it wasn't. It was Absolute Batman. Anyway, next up we have Batman Superman World's Finest 38 with Clayton Henry on art, obviously with Mark Waid still writing. We got Justice League Unlimited issue 6. A couple of nice covers in this batch.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah, there's a... it's not quite as good as this, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely a very Alex Ross inspired cover in that batch. With a few of them flying in space.
You're talking about the one with the... Oh, you're talking about the space one.
Yeah.
Because the one above it, I'd say, is very Alex Ross-esque too.
It kind of, I'd say that it's very more Lieber. In fact, it might even be Lieber if I go down and check who the covers are. It is, yeah, Lieber. There you go.
Yeah.
Called it. I got it right.
There you go.
Honestly, it was his Batman. I recognize his Batman head more than anything. But yeah, cool. So yeah, it's just limited issue 6. Travis Moore's on the art for that issue. So again, Dan Mora finally had to slow down.
Yeah, so this is part of a big crossover. This is news that I saw before I realized there were Solicits this week, that they're doing a crossover with, what was it? Justice League Unlimited, World's Finest, and there's one more book. Let's see if it's the next one on here.
Oh, well, the annual was a World's Finest annual up next.
Yeah. It's part 3 of 6. It's called We Are Yesterday, so we're starting to get Mark Waid crossing his books over a little bit. I
mean, you say that, but he's effectively just crossing over all, World's Finest is effectively like mini Justice League.
Yeah, and the fact that it's called We Are Yesterday, I'm wondering if this is going to do some, not necessarily timey-wimey, but we're going to see events from the past and their consequences in the future, for what it means for Inferno and this other stuff.
And Legion of Doom's on the cover of one of the variants for that annual, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, okay, so yeah, we got this crossover. I mean, honestly, it feels like it's just an arc that Waid's doing that he wants to get done quicker than waiting for 6 issues of Unlimited. So he's just firing it all out in one quick succession. Justice League: The Atom Project issue 4 is out, and then we got Challengers of the Unknown issue 5. There's actually a really cool variant cover for that. With he's screaming in the astronaut suit with all the purple with the yellow cogs.
Yes, it's very alien to me.
So that's cool. We got Question All Along the Watchtower issue 6.
Ooh.
We got Aquaman issue 4, as you do. We got Wonder Woman issue 20. Unfortunately, with Gilliam March doing a fill-in issue of art. It's our annual, non-tradition. Yeah. Wait, hold on. That sentence made no sense. What? Annual non-tradition?
Yeah, so he always pops in. He's popped in a couple times now during King's Run onto it, but we don't hold it as a tradition, but it's something that happens, right? It's an annual non-tradition.
Okay. I think something's annual. It's a tradition. It's a bad tradition, but it's a tradition all the same.
It's like a bad miracle.
It's like tax day. Tax day is a tradition. No one likes it, but it's a tradition.
Oh, jeez. I'm not going to get into that one.
Detective Comics 1096. A couple of killer covers on this one. I mean, that main cover with technically the name was revealed this week, so I won't say it because it's technically a spoiler right now. But the villain holding the bat cowl is a really cool cover. The one with the villain jumping is almost really good. I say almost because I think the leg's a bit weird. But and then that Batman, that scratchy black and cream one is also very, very pretty. So yeah, a lot of nice covers there. Detective Comics 2025 annual. So we got a second annual so far. So this is Tom Taylor and Moore with MIkel Janin, which tells me there's going to be backups. But that's all it says to me. But Taylor's writing the main story, and MIkel Janin's doing the art. So sounds like it'll be at least slightly relevant.
So judging from the description in there, it says Batman's found himself mired in a haunting case he can't seem to solve. Now the Dark Knight must work his way through some of his most maniacal foes to gather enough evidence to attempt to crack the case. His very life, or the life of someone dear, may depend on it. Tom Taylor, joined by an all-star roster of collaborators, crafts a mystery that will boggle the mind. So I wonder if he plotted it, and he'll have someone helping with each of these different pieces. Which I like. I like that. Sometimes annuals just play the next part of the chapter. I do like when they're kind of their own thing. And that's what
I'm
this
the
feels
opposite.
like.
I would much rather just feel like the next issue of the book rather than some weird filler thing. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Every once in a while is a good one, and it's just a good standalone story. But I would say that the batting average is like 8 times out of 10, it's pointless filler.
Well, and we've gotten both from Taylor, right?
We have,
he's made them do that, and then but I think sometimes he can write a I don't know another word for it, but filler story. I think those can kind of he can craft those very well. So I trust in him a little bit more than average.
The Flash issue 20 is a thing, as is Green Arrow issue 23. Montos on art on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Secret 6 issue 2, which this is Nicole Main's writing with Steven Segovia on art. For people who don't remember the solicit for issue 1, and namely me. Whoa, what are these covers? Green Lantern issue 22. A couple of interesting covers here. That one at Carol's very pretty.
Yeah, the one above it just seems very ominous.
Yes.
It almost looks like a horror movie poster.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's Jeremy Adams' MIkel on that issue.
God, that's got to be Hector Hammond, right? Let's see.
What? Okay. Main cover?
Yeah. On the main cover. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. And then we have Green Lantern Corps issue 3 by Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton with art by Fernando Passarin and Auclair Albert. So yeah, Green Lantern Corner in the Universe has got 2 books again, so still getting used to that. Then we have Harley Quinn issue 50. And we got Poison Ivy issue 32.
Let me get down and see these covers.
Catwoman 75 is a thing. And then we got Nightwing issue 125. Is this? No, it's not oversized. Oh, come on. What? 25 a Batman gets oversized, but 125 a Nightwing doesn't get the special treatment? What's with this nonsense?
That seems to be some BS.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a raunchy Nightwing and Batgirl cover, though.
I just got to that one. I was like, okay. This is the vibe we want for 125.
Yeah, why not? New Gods issue 5 by Ram V and Evan Cagle and TK. TK? What am I say?
Tony Khan, what are you doing?
We got GSA issue 6 by Jeff Lemire and Diego Orlortegui. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we got Power Company Recharged issue 1, which we talked about last week. That was announced then. We have Batman and Robin issue 20, which one of those covers has a big monster on it, so I'm curious to see how that goes.
Nightmare are still loading.
Black Canary Best of the Best issue 6, which is the final issue of that series out in April. We got Batman Dark Patterns issue 5, which has been very good so far. First couple issues in Dan Waters' book. Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween issue 7, which has got Dave Johnson joining Loeb on the art for this one. So
that's cool.
That's cool. Got Batgirl issue 6, which I'm happy to see. I don't see a final issue.
No.
Tag on that. I'm pleased by that. Then we got Titans 22. And we have Birds of Prey issue 20. Sammy Basri on the art for that issue. We got Power Girl issue 20. We got Zatanna issue 3. I forgot Jamal Campbell was in a Zatanna book. I say this every time, but anything that gets to like issue 3, because it's not come out yet, but we're getting solicits for the 3rd issue, it's in this weird place where I'm still not remembering it exists, but it's already on issue 3 in the solicits. We have The Peacemaker Presents The Vigilante Eagly Double Feature issue 2. Story consultant James Gunn.
No kidding.
Just in case you need to know that. Fire and Ice When Hell Freezes Over issue 1. This is a new miniseries. They just got a miniseries last year, did they not?
Yeah, that was a Smallville one though. Now the powers are swapped. Now Ice has Fire's power and Fire has Ice's.
I'm not like, by all means go for it. It's just interesting to me that Fire and Ice is not a duo that I'd expect to get 2 minis within the span of about 2.5 years. It's just kind of nuts.
I love this list. They're like, with the power switch and no solution in sight, yet there's a book that's all about them finding a solution. It's in the Atom Project. So, this will probably have Gardner show up in it for a little bit.
And hopefully die.
You could hope, not me though.
Metamorpho, the Element Man issue 5 is out in April. We also have Two-Face issue 4. And then we have DC All In Absolute Universe Free Comic Book Day Special Edition issue 1. And this has got the Dan Slott story and the Jeff Lemire story, which we talked about in the last couple of weeks, coming out for Free Comic Book Day. So, I think typically this is free both physically and digitally. I think the comic shops do pay a little bit for it, but it's like 20 cents, 25 cents an issue.
I mean, if you want to buy a variant, it's $5. But that's card stock. So, according to the Solicits.
That's how they make the money.
Yep.
The variants are a fortune, and we're going to make sure the variants have really nice covers, so you're super tempted.
Funny.
Yeah, and then some stuff for kids for Free Comic Book Day. Superman's Good Guy Gang 2025 Free Comic Book Day Special Edition, both written and drawn by Rob Justice. Imagine your last name being Justice.
Yeah.
Which is like,
I know a person that's how they spell their last name too.
Justice is here. Justice has arrived.
God, I'd be even more annoying than I am now.
Kanga U 2025 Free Comic Book Day Special Edition. So that's that. And then DC vs. Vampires World War V issue 8. Green Lantern Dark issue 4. Just some minis that, same creative teams obviously as they've had. Resurrection Man Quantum Karma issue 1. So this is a new solicit, but it's not news because we heard about this a little bit ago. But this is Ram V with art by Anand RK and Jackson Butch Geiss. So good.
Yeah, I'm reading this because I don't know.
For the
Geiss?
audience, it's
I would say Geiss.
Yeah, it's Guice for the sake of the audience, but
it could be Juice too.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, you're right. It could be a soft G. All right, weird. Anyway, yeah, right. Yeah. I remember trying the first issue of the New 52 Resurrection Man, which is the last time he probably had a book. So here we are. So
I'm reading the solicit, and there's a lot of stuff on here that I didn't realize. But it looks like Resurrection Man's not just gonna have the power of resurrection. It's Mitch Shelley is woken with a new purpose and power for saving the whole universe. So yeah, also it looks like it's playing with some World War II stuff. So yeah, it's Ram V. We're there, right?
Oh yeah. Ram V makes this a must read for sure. So no complaints on that. And then we got DC Cross Sonic the Hedgehog issue 2, written by Ian Fleming and art by Adam Bryce Thomas. So
why not?
Sonic and the Flash have teamed up to try and take on Darkseid. It's like, look, Sonic's pretty fast, right? But he's not the Flash fast.
Look, the Flash says it every time. I'm the fastest man alive. Sonic's not a man. Sonic's a hedgehog. He could be faster. We don't know.
Sonic doesn't typically break like the speed of light.
Wait, have you seen those movies?
I see the first two.
Okay, so I take it he doesn't break the speed of light.
I mean, I don't remember them well enough to tell you if he did or he didn't. They're very forgettable.
Look, I'm just saying that whoever the evil doctor is it Robotnik? Is it
Robotnik? Yes.
Who knows? Yeah, the Jim Carrey character seems like a Darkseid minion, so this checks out.
No, he does not. I mean,
yes, he does.
Not in personality. Come on.
No, not personality, but just look at him. He's got a big evil mustache.
Yeah, okay. I could see him like snuggling in bed with Granny Goodness. Yes, I'll give you that. But that's about it. All right. Are we on some facsimile editions? Yeah, there's a bunch of those. No one cares. Teen Titans Go.
A lot of original Hush Run facsimile editions.
Yes,
coming out.
Mad Magazine 43. Superman's Good Guy Gang Book issue 1, which is a 72-page hardcover. We have Superman: The Death and Return of Superman Compendium. So there's an omnibus that's been reprinted at least once. but now you can get it in paperback, a 1,300-page softcover. Now, I know you always joke about the omnibuses being too big, but at least those modern omnibuses have sewn bindings, so the backs, like, the arch, right? The spine's arch to be readable. This is just going to fold the spine of a paperback. It's going to destroy it.
Yeah.
So
6 5/8 by 10 3/16. So it's an even bigger size than normal too. So you're getting bigger pages as well.
Are you?
Right? Isn't that? I can't imagine they'd make them smaller.
I mean, the next book's an omnibus, which is deluxe sized, and that's bigger. So if it's bigger than normal, it's like a weird size in between normal and deluxe.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot of room in there to maneuver. So. No, that's probably. I'm gonna have to get my measuring tape out. I don't go back up and look at one of the regular issues. I'm sure.
No, because the Secret Origins one down there is the same, 6 5/8 by 10 3/16. So I don't know, but this is also only 224 pages. So, that makes sense for something like this.
Yeah. Superman: The Golden Age Omnibus, Volume 1, 2025 edition, meaning this is getting reprinted. I think this is at least the third time this has been printed, because it's had a reprint before. Superman Adventures Compendium 1, which is a almost 900-page softcover. We have Superman Secret Origins reprinting in softcover. That's the Jeff Johns take on the Superman origin story.
With Gary Frank on art.
That's quite right. Superman by Philip Kennedy Johnson Omnibus Volume 1. Yep. So you can get, I presume, because his run wasn't that long, so I presume it's Volume 1 of 2. So this will be the first half of his run in Omnibus, deluxe hardcover size.
It looks like this Superman should be painted on the side of a van.
No, the cover's awesome. The cover's very, very good. And it's nice to see that DC recognize this as an important run. Because it's not like it was like blowing the world on fire sales-wise when it was coming out versus Superman or some of the other books, but it was so good. So very excited to see this. It collects 1,029 to 1,046 of action, plus an annual, and 2 annuals even, and then 3 issues of Superman and a couple other random one-shot tie-ins.
Special. It also has the Superman and the Authority 1 through 4, which kind of set the groundwork for this.
Well, he didn't write that, did he?
No, because Grant Morrison is listed here as in the written by. So they're throwing all of the Warworld stuff together, which is good because it makes it seem like a bigger story. But yeah.
Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, Who Killed Jimmy Olsen, the deluxe edition by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. So I assume that's just their 12-issue book that they did a few years ago. Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor hardcover announced. They're ready to go on this. Right after the third issue has come out, they're ready to go.
Yeah, it'll be out in June. So,
which is a much shorter gap than it usually is from a final issue to hardcover.
Because it's been about 2.5 years since the first issue, so
Yes. Superman Year 1 by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.
No, thank you. Next.
Yeah. So there's that. Batman Beyond the White Knight, softcover. Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons, softcover. Superman Volume 4, Rise of the Superwoman. That's obviously the current Joshua Williams run. Presumably the current arc. Yeah, because the issue we did today, I think it was 22, and this has got 19 to 24, plus the Superwoman specials. So, reasonable size. Batman Detective Comics Volume 1, Mercy of the Father. This is the arc we're on right now for Tom Taylor's Detective.
I didn't realize that was the title. That is a good title.
Yeah, and they've solicited both a softcover and a hardcover. I'm noticing this in general, the fact that I'm saying these arcs are still ongoing when they're soliciting these collections is a big change, because for a long time, we would be like halfway through the next arc before we even get the solicit for like the hardcover, and then the softcover would come much later. The fact that they're doing this so quick and they're doing both versions is very consumer friendly. Like, it's very, you can keep up to date without falling too far behind if you're reading the trades, and like, we're not going to force you to buy the hardcover first if you're someone who prefers the
Right.
soft cover.
I mean, it kind of is what business should be about, which is about choice, right? If you want the hardcover, here you go. If you want the soft cover, here you go.
Yeah, but how many people bought the hardcover because it was the only way to read it in collection,
Yeah.
but then would buy it again? So, I mean, DC, they want those double dips, baby.
Yeah, but I think the fact that they've gotten more into special edition type stuff, where you can even upcharge that instead of just the hardcover. Because like me, like I don't particularly like hardcovers, and I would pick them up when they were on sale, like on Free Comic Book Day when my shop's doing a thing. That's the only reason I have hardcovers of things. If I'm gonna go buy the trades, I just get the soft cover. A, because it's cheaper, and B, mostly because it's cheaper. There's no B. Yeah.
I mean, I've not bought physical collections in a long time, but when I did, I liked omnibuses and deluxes in hardcover. I thought they felt very premium. They felt like I was getting a cool like thing to put in the shelf, which in a way that a trade never felt as exciting.
Yeah.
That said, the hardcovers for the regular 6-issue trades always felt a little bit, I don't know, this weird in between. Like, okay, it's a bit more premium because it's hardcover, but it's small. It's not the bigger page size. I don't know. Like, there's like a weird middle ground.
I need a lot of cool extras if that's the case. I want some behind the scenes. I want some sketches. I want some commentary from the writer in the background for if it's just a 6-issue hardcover. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the bigger pages, like, if you make it a deluxe, I think that's enough. I think the bigger pages, bigger art. Yeah.
I mean, give me some of the bang for my buck there.
Wonder Woman Volume 3 Fury, again, current run, current arc, I should say, of Wonder Woman. And we got DC's Finest, Batman, Killing Joke, and Other Stories. Because Killing Joke's very short, by the way. I don't know if people know this. It's only about 80 pages. So they love to pump it with other things. And this is a 600-page book, meaning there's a lot of other things in it.
It's like, you could have just called this, you didn't have to lead with the Killing Joke.
I know.
They went with the Killing Joke because they like making Alan Moore mad. And as a person that knows that Alan Moore does black magic, I would not be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically just a collection of both Batman and Detective.
From the late 80s.
Yeah, from the time when Killing Joke was published. But they're kind of like, which is so weird from a naming perspective, because presumably, if they want to do like the next chunk in this format again, they want to do DC's Finest, like the next 600-page worth of Batman and Detective, then like wouldn't it have been better to call it, I mean, they wouldn't call it this, but that's just for, I can't think of another title, so let's call it Batman Post-Crisis Volume 1. Batman Post-Crisis Volume 2, that kind of thing, or whatever title they want to call it. But instead, because they've called this Batman, Killing Joke, and Other Stories, if they do another collection that follows up where this one leaves off, it's like, well, it's Batman. Was there any notable stories in that 600-page batch of those two books that people would recognize? Maybe not.
Yeah.
They may.
I mean, I could see if they had led with Year One, right? DC's Finest, Batman Year One, and Other Stories. Like,
which they may have done it, to be fair. That may exist. I've not been paying that much attention to these Finest collections.
No.
DC's Finest, Catwoman, Vengeance and Vindication. So this is from the Chuck Dixon and Alan Grant run. Metamorpho, Element Man, DC's Finest. That's interesting.
Goes back, well.
And that's a good 600 pages. So they're not skimping on these.
These are like of that era where I feel the current book is pulling from. So that's cool that they're throwing these out there.
Yeah, Superman Kryptonite Nevermore, DC's Finest. Again, there are 600 pages. This is Dennis O'Neil, Leo Dorfman, and others writing.
Got that Kurt Swan art. So that's cool.
Yeah, Deceased Compact Edition.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, it's so funny because we've got these new lines where we're still doing omnibuses. We don't get as many deluxes, I feel. Maybe we do. I'm just not noticing. But we got the compendiums now. We've got the compact editions, and we've got the finest editions. So there's like multiple formats that a lot of the same series are getting released in, which is just curious to see how that shakes up. Static Season 1 DC Compact Comics Edition. Batwoman Elegy DC Compact Editions, because this has had, so Batwoman Elegy definitely had a paperback. It definitely had a deluxe hardcover, and now it's got at least a compact.
Yeah.
I want to say there might have been another one in between this and the last time it was released.
Oh, this is the Batwoman story.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I like these. These actually, they've started selling these at my local grocery store, which is cool to see. Like if you know, I don't need any of these, right? I probably have a lot of these, but it's cool that they are out there and they have their own little stand that looks like you know, who's ever pushing these out, whatever company does business with the grocery store, you know, they have them all set up there. They look like they've been gone through, you know, people have bought some, so it's working, right? Because that's kind of what this is to get them into different markets.
It's for the casuals, yeah. It's less for the people who are collecting the books and have been for a long time, and more for new casual readers that might get more interested. Power Girl, with a cover which is literally just here's her tits sticking out at you. Enjoy.
Which the whole point of this run was to get away from that, yet the marketing goes right back to it.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yep. Volume 3, that is that current run. Flash Volume 3, as above, again, current run. Nightwing Volume 1, On With The Show, which is the first of the Dan Waters run. Both hardcover and softcover solicited for that. Then we got World's Finest, Volume 6, Impossible, which is, again, both softcover and hardcover. We got Batman Hush Absolute Edition, which... That's a reprinting, because I think I owned Batman Hush Absolute back in the day, and then sold it because I was getting rid of a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so they've definitely done an Absolute of this before. But again, makes sense. Or Hush 2 is coming out.
Like I don't think you're allowed to host a DC Comics podcast unless you own Hush in some form.
Yeah, I had
you better get on it.
I had the 2 paperbacks because they released it in 2 volumes, the money grubbing bastards, and I had the Absolute.
Gotcha.
I recall.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Then we got Cosmic Odyssey, the deluxe edition, which is a Jim Starlin story with Magnolia as one of the artists listed there. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's I want to say late 80s, early 90s era, which when Magnolia would be doing that stuff. That's where, you know, Gotham by Gaslight first came around.
Yeah, it was also like the late 80s when he started doing Hellboy. So yeah, that would you know, I would expect it to be then at the earliest, just because that's when I think his career kind of got going.
Yeah.
DC versus Vampires World War V Volume 1, current run of that. Deceased Omnibus by Tom Taylor. So yeah, and this is over 1,000 pages, and it does have I think it's everything. Yeah, it's got Deceased 126, Good Day to Die issue 1, which is the one shot that happened in the middle of that. Deceased Dead Planet, Deceased Hope at World's End, digital chat. So it's got the digital book even. It's got Unkillables 1 to 3, and then War of the Undead Gods. So yeah, it's the entire thing, just over 1,000 pages in a big hardcover. I mean, honestly, that's a perfect omnibus, like in terms of like just the amount of issues. Yeah. So yeah, I see that doing quite well. Dr. Fate by J.M. DeMatteis. DeMatteis, there you go. Clearly, I've never heard that word said out loud.
No, it's one of those ones that you hear when you read it your own way and you just move on, but then you're forced to say it out loud, and I get you.
DeMatteis.
J.M. DeMatteis.
DeMatteis. I just need to remember Matthias, because if I remember Matthias, I'll just put the D in front of it. But Matthias. Anyway, Green Lantern Volume 3, Power of Will, soft cover, the current run. Jenny Sparks, soft cover, the current book. Looney Tunes, Catch That, Wascally Wabbit. Okay.
So I thought the guy in the overcoat was Constantine for a hot second, and then I realized it's Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Mailstone Compendium 4, 1,300 page paperback. Man, they've done a bunch. This is the 4th book of that size for Mailstone. That's wild. Batman Detective Comics, the New 52 Omnibus Volume 1. Oh, that's a weird omnibus. Just because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if they're doing like you know completionist stuff where you do all the Golden Age, all the Silver Age, all the Bronze Age, so on. Fair enough. Yeah, it makes sense that at some point you'd have a New 52 one. But like, does anyone feel passionate about like the first 25 issues a New 52 detective.
Not me.
Especially since, if I recall correctly, that's not even like it was like one team for that first chunk. It kind of switches. And also, this includes Penguin, Pain and Prejudice 1 to 5, which was the miniseries that ran early in the New 52, which is an interesting inclusion. So that's very strange to me. But I mean, on a list of omnibuses that I would feel the need to have, I think this would be pretty near the bottom of the list.
Yeah. So Daniel did the first chunk, right? And then I remember Layman coming in. So what did Williamson do? Maybe one of the annuals?
Maybe did like a fill-in issue or two. Because I remember there was a...
It's probably the Flash crossover, right? Because he was doing Flash at that point. No, that was Rebirth.
Wasn't. No, that was... Judgment Day came on until Rebirth. You're talking nonsense, man.
Yeah, so what the hell's Williamson doing over here?
Well, regardless of that, I remember there'd been like a 2-issue like fill-in story in Detective in New 52 that was very good. Nothing to do with Williamson. I'm not talking about him.
Yeah.
With what's his name? The artist who passed away. Jean-Paul Leon. Is that who I'm thinking?
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's where I discovered his art, because he did the art in this 2-issue story, and I thought it was fantastic. And it was easily the best 2 issues of Detective in the entire like 5 years of like New 52 Detective Comics. That's not true, because there was a good Detective Comics run a little bit later into New 52, if I recall. I'm sure there was a little arc, or at least a couple of arcs that were good later on.
To look this up, I gotta know which one you're talking about now.
I can visualize the covers in my head of the. I mean, it was at least good compared to what had come before. Maybe it's not that great in hindsight, but it was like slim pickings back there. Nightwing, A Night in Bloodhaven, Compendium 2. So this is the original Chuck Dixon run 1,100 pages. So there's that. Absolute Preacher Volume 3, new edition. So that's a reprinting. Red Lanterns, the New 52 omnibus. Oh, they're really going all out with these New 52 omnibuses. Again, 1,500 pages of the Red Lanterns and some relevant tie-in issues of Green Lantern for various crossovers. All right, if you really like Red Lantern, there you go. You can have that. Go for it. The Authority, Book 2, hardcover, 500 pages. Mark Miller, Warren Ellis, and Tom Pear. And then there's also the Authority Omnibus, new edition. So that's getting a reprint. That's about just under 1,000 pages. Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Volume 6. DC Universe by Steve Ditko Omnibus. That's 1,200 or so pages with a lot of stuff in it. We got Batman 89 Echoes, hardcover. The Spectre, the Wrath of the Spectre Omnibus reprint, which is fair enough, I guess. And then that is it. That is the last of the Solicits.
Cool.
That was a pretty beefy collection section, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big chunks.
Yeah, I think there was 1 or 2 months recently where it was very quiet in the collection, so I guess they had a lot to make up for. But all right, cool. That will finally take us on to the comics. So we will start off with Detective Comics 1093, Tom Taylor writing with MIkel Janin on the art. So good. Right, a lot of good stuff in here, right? That said, though, the opening scene, whilst very well written, is poking the bear that we're scared of him poking.
Poking the bear that we're scared of him poking. That's a hell of a sentence.
Yeah, because the opening scene is this flashback to after the Waynes died, and there was like, as you get with sometimes with tragedies, like people putting out wreaths and flowers and things like that, little memorial, and it's at the front gate of the Wayne Manor, as you might expect it. And the mum, that the Joe Chill's girlfriend
Ex.
or ex, Kate comes with her daughter, and is putting flowers down and sees a young Bruce, and Bruce says, "Oh, did you know my parents?" And he especially notices when she introduces her daughter as, her middle name being Martha, and she, the daughter intentionally says her full name with her middle name, because normally you don't. Most people don't bother using their middle name. It's just kind of there.
No, the only time you use 3 names is if it's a serial killer. So,
Whoa, whoa. I believe MJF goes by 3 names.
Yes, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, serial killer. Hear me now, believe me later.
He's not killed anyone.
Not in a minute. His stories have not been good. He's feuding with Jeff Jarrett right now.
What? Why?
Yes. But they also teased a Hangman versus MJF. Evil Hangman versus MJF. So, But yes. Anyways, yeah. This scene, I remember it ending in my head with Alfred chasing them away with a broom. So when I went back when I revisited it, I was like, oh no, he just, shoot them away. No,
because they pay this moment off later. Because Alfred runs out when Bruce gets a little bit scared because the woman kind of doesn't grab him in an aggressive way, but kind of grabs his arm and starts saying, "I'm so sorry for what he did. Please forgive us," or whatever. And I was like, okay, I think this scene's well written. I especially like Bruce getting scared and Alfred running out and standing in front of him and being like, "It's okay, I'm here." And that's the moment that pays off later, because Batman says that to one of the runaway kids. He's like, "I'm here." So that was a nice payoff to that. But as poking the bear, this idea that we're still teasing that the Joe Chill murder of the Waynes possibly wasn't a random thing. It still could be, and I'm still hoping it is.
Yeah.
But
I mean, here the point of the scene, though, I do like that the mother that was saved all those years ago, right? Wants to come and pay her respects, and just happens to see Bruce, a young Bruce here, and she has her own kid and whatever. So
it is true here that this is 4 or 5 years later, based on the age of the kid. So it still could just be a chance encounter. It's not like Joe Chill necessarily targeted the Waynes, but we are worried, or I'm worried at least, that that might be something that we do.
Yeah.
And I'm trusting Tom Taylor, who normally does not let me down, to
patron saint of the show,
to not do me dirty. So anytime they tease that it was a hit or whatever, it takes away from the random act of violence in Gotham that gives birth to Batman, to that persona. So because if it's a targeted thing, it's not that, it's not indicative of Gotham, right? Yeah, is this the same as giving someone to blame for Krypton? Okay, we can kind of blame Krypton as a whole for not listening to the scientists.
It's a societal problem.
But
that's different than Rogol Zar going to the core and destroying it because he was angry.
Example I was going to use was Rogol effing Zar.
Yeah, God. Anyway.
So it comes to present day, of course, and the Bat family are out collecting all of the other kids who were released from the same juvie center. So we get a nice little montage of Red Hood, Steph, Tim Drake, Signal, Babs, and Damien all collecting different juvenile ex-offenders, which I loved. My favorite detail of all this is that Damien's kid is by far the biggest of all of them. I got a chuckle out of that.
Yep, I like that. Also, just I love the way that they break it down into 3s. We got Red Hood, we got why am I drawing a blank? Steph. And then Tim, and then on the other page, Signal, Babs, and Damien. So I do like that we went with 3s, and the way that Janin does the layouts, they're different, right? All giving them equal pages or equal amount of the page. It looks like.
Yeah. Taylor is quite good at remembering about the extended family and that they matter in some way. It's not just things like this, because it's very easy for them to write a scene where, we have to get a bunch of different people all over the city. So, you'll get a nice little cameo from the Bat family. No, it's the moments later on, when they're in the meeting talking to the kids, and they're actually discussing the fact that, we're all investigating this. So, hey, your new girlfriend, Bruce, like, works for this company that may be tied to all this shit. Like, maybe we should talk about it. And, Jason's giving him shit, Tim's giving him shit. And it's like, no, you're all involved. And I like that.
Yeah. I would love for him to tell a throwback story of Bruce and Tim, because that dynamic is we've seen a lot of it in Nightwing, where the Bruce and Dick dynamic, but Taylor has that down. And just their chemistry in those few pages of Tim going back and needling him a little bit, about what was it in particular? Let me get to those. Oh, it's about, the kids and the privacy. We can't invade their privacy, yet that's what Bruce does all the time.
Yeah, and that's what they throw back in his face when he gets a little annoyed. He's like, wait, who told Jason I was intimate with that woman? And Tim's like, hey, we threw some privacy under the bus to stop a murderer. And Bruce can't say shit.
No. And so that's the dynamic that I love, that I would love to see Taylor do more of, just because I think that pairing of Tim's Robin and Bruce, because they're so similar, right? And they're both the kind of more of the, let's not say intellectual, but they're the ones that are the more the detective side of things. I think that story would be a lot of fun. And I can't remember if Taylor's done that era, right? We've gotten early Bruce, and we've gotten this around the Bruce, but I don't think we've gotten a lot of that from him. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So when we get to Batman, and it's before that meeting scene that takes place, he's collecting like one of the kids himself. And this father or stepfather is abusive to the kid's mother. And Batman stops the guy from punching the kid and sort of asks, like, wait, why, what's the bother here? And the kid explains that this guy's been abusive to his mother. And Batman's like, is that true? And this guy just immediately pulls out a shotgun and tries to like, stand up to Batman.
Well, and he is a big dude. Like, he towers over Batman. So which makes this scene look even cooler. Yeah,
and this is the payoff to him saying, I'm here. Because that's what Alfred said to him once upon a time in a very similar pose. But there's something just really beautiful about the panel of Batman walking up to the shotgun so that his chest is touching it, and then just going, you small man. And this guy is hulking above him, but yes, on a moral or spiritual level, you're a tiny human being who has no balls. And Batman just takes it out of his hand.
Well, he does and Janin, I think, does a really good homage to that. This is the weapon of the enemy from Dark Knight Returns, him breaking the shotgun over his knee. So there's that here that looks pretty cool. And then I don't know where he gets bat cuffs this large, because this man has forearms the size of most people's thighs, and Bruce gets some bat cuffs on him. So I thought that was pretty funny as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's one size fits all, right? They're adjustable.
Yeah, but like this man's wrists are massive. Like the regular cuffs that are one size fits all would have issues.
But Batman needs to get to the zip ties because they're a bit more, versatile. That said, though, they're single use. Once you've used them once, you can't use them again.
No.
So.
And Batman's not about waste. Can't be leaving stuff around like Spider-Man.
Look, he's not quite as rich as he used to be. All right, he's got to save the pennies, and reusable cuffs is an important expense-saving measure.
And he's not going to Dick Grayson asking for money. That's not who Bruce is.
No. He might use some dick to get some money if things get really bad.
But
They just stand there and he's cool in a street corner.
I thought you meant romancing older women.
No, I meant it'd be a filthy whore, Matt.
Yeah, gotcha.
Start the OnlyFans page, the Bat fans.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, so we get to see it, and Batman, because he's dealing with this, is a little bit late to it. So the rest of the team, Babs is given the speech, which I kind of like. If anything, I could have done with Batman taking a little bit longer to show up and seeing the rest of the team sort of cover the reins and just see them working well as a unit. But he gives them all like hats and watches and stuff, all things that have basically individual like signal watches, like So as much as they say it's like mini bat signals, I'm like, yeah, but it's a lot more like Jimmy Olsen's thing.
Yes,
it's just, but it's more tech based than it is a just it's a frequency that only Superman can hear.
Yeah, I would have liked for Babs to point out we took some inspiration from somewhere else. That would have been fun.
And this is where Tim points out, yeah, I checked those things. There's a lot of microphones and cameras in those items as well. So that's the whole thing. So yeah, Bruce tries to make another date with St. Clair.
Scarlet?
Yeah, Scarlet, thank you. I'm forgetting her name. Do you know what? Now that you've said it, I'm like, I think last time I said, I'll try and remember it because her hair is like not quite scarlet, but it's you know, it's on the cusp of getting there.
Again, I remember her as a serial killer, so her name will always be the three.
Yes.
You know, Scarlet Martha Scott.
Although they may be swerving, I don't know if it's 100% sure it's going to be her yet.
I think I know who it is now, so we'll get there.
Yeah, it's the Our Lady, the one with the face
the one
mask
with the mask
on here.
and red hair. That kind of looks like a Sema.
Yes, we get her name, of course. Yes, we get the villain's name later on. But yeah, she can't quite make it. So Batman goes and hunts down like why is all these assassins here? So it turns out someone had paid a bunch of assassins to come into Gotham and try and take out the serial killer. But they're all been turned away now. But Batman finds out who hired them, and it turns out to be the Penguin. Penguin hired a bunch of people. Not to kill the killer, but to bring them in alive, because a lot of his employees are these juvenile delinquents that haven't shown up. So he's pissed about it. Which again
makes sense in that version of Gotham where these are all street kids, and of course Penguin would know what's going on with these troubled youth. Because he's gonna that's where he's drafting them from.
Well, the most recent version we got of Penguin's past in the last couple of years was very much the idea that he himself was a kid like that kind of rose up through the ranks. So it makes a lot of sense that he would be hiring the same sort of way that he was hired. But Penguin, the one interesting thing here though is that Penguin says that I didn't call the order off, someone else did, and Batman's like, wait. Someone has that power to call it off, even though they had nothing to do with the hiring. And he's like, yep, I don't know who it is. Some deep, shadowy organization. I've tried to find out. But I did get one thing, though. I got the name of the killer, Asima. So we've got a name to go by now, which is, doesn't really mean much other than just, hey, we've something to call her.
Yeah, so I've Googled the name before, and it's a type of vampire from other folklore. Which again, stealing blood, murdering, all this, it hits all the tropes.
Well, kind of, in like a sort of roundabout way, because it's not literally sucking the blood, but stealing the blood. So yeah, it's very, very thematic and all that. Asima shows up going after one of the kids, and really nice art here in this chase, like the speed lines on the car. When Asima jumps off and the car crashes, it's very it kind of reminds me a little bit of like towards the end of the first Terminator, when the truck explodes and all that and the car goes into the wall. But of course Batman shows up, and I think what's interesting is that Asima is like, oh, you're Batman, you inspired me. I don't want to fight with you. This guy doesn't deserve to live, though. He's a bad one, so I'm going to kill him. And Batman's like, no, we're not going to be doing that. And she is quite formidable, right? She's able to fight back against Batman, and ultimately is able to inject him with some anesthesia or whatever.
With a sedative, essentially. Knocks him out. Yeah,
to go down. And it's a really sweet kind of dark scene though, because she like in this scuffle with Batman, when Batman's trying to de-escalate it and the kid tries to run, when she gets like close enough to him, she swipes at his neck with her claws that she wears, and Batman even says in his narration that, oh, that's an artery, he has to get to a hospital, he has to get that patched up immediately or he's going to die in 10 minutes or whatever. And well, probably less than that now I'm thinking about it, but it's like, okay, so Batman's going to get to a hospital, but then she tranks Batman, and we get this sequence where Batman's lying, unable to move, next to the victim who's bleeding out, and they end up just holding hands as this kid's presumably dying. And this whole issue is Batman repeatedly, like in his narration, is saying, I failed to save these 6-7 kids that have been killed, a couple of them have been really personal because he was so close to it and didn't save them. And this issue for him ends with holding the hand of this teenager dying. And I just like, you know what? This hit a little like harder than I think that I would have expected that it might have. The visuals and the art really help. I think Asima, while at first she looked kind of generic as a villain, and arguably her design still kind of is, I do think that she's a bit more interesting as a character now after this issue.
Well, the whole thing that threw me for a loop was she said that she's been inspired by Batman.
Yes.
You know, and that whole thing of she has a black and white view that these kids are bad, so therefore, you know, we'll take from them and give to those who, you know, in her twisted view sense, who deserve it more. And those people tend to be billionaires and whatever. So it's like this twisted sense of justice or whatnot. But yeah, wasn't expecting a code out of Asima, so that was cool.
Yeah, because Batman even narrates that she's not trying to hurt him. Like, you know, she's holding her claws back. She's not trying to go for kills. She doesn't want to take Batman out. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, actually, that she respects what Batman's doing, but is going to keep killing people. But, yeah, anyway. But, yeah, so Batman recognizes a smell, though, as she walks away. It's white musk, which I don't remember that coming up, but I'm assuming it's something he smelled at the lab or... Possibly even with his new girlfriend, but I do think that's a bit of the I think we're meant to think it's her right now, and then it's going to turn out to be the other lady, like you said. But the ending is, you know, whoever this is goes back to the lab, right? So we see the work there, and they got a sample of Batman's blood when she injected him with the thing, and she tests the blood, and because they have Bruce Wayne's DNA on file because they've been giving him treatment, it pops up Bruce Wayne, and you know she's like, oh, look what you had to become, Bruce, and that's the cliffhanger. So what gets me and why I don't think it's Scarlet, right, is the second to last panel is, oh, you poor thing. So it's someone that's looking down kind of on Bruce, which wouldn't tell me that it was this girl who he's had a relationship with, and you know, it's someone that is a bit removed from him. So I think it's intentionally ambiguous, though. Like, I know, and I agree with. I mean, I think that she's such a red herring at this point that I think it has to be the other character. But I think you could read that "oh poor thing" as like care for him, like, oh, you poor thing, like you've had to do this, you had to become Batman because of what happened to you. Like, I think you could read that as sympathy, depending on the tone, depending on the how it's delivered.
But yeah, so to me it shows a piece, like there's a bit of separation between it. So but yeah, definitely picks back up. So, you know, and ending on a big moment.
No, I mean, I'm really enjoying this arc. I think Taylor's writing a pretty solid detective comic story. It's just that one little thing of like, oh, what's he going to do with this flashback stuff? It's got the possibility to piss me off, and this is kind of like, this is really the first time it's really come up again since that first issue where it first did the reveal that Joe Chill was related to anything that was going on. But we'll see. But no, this had cool action. I think the Batman line, unable to help the kid dying next to him, is a genuinely good moment. That's pretty powerful. I think the villain's a bit more interesting as a villain now. The idea that some organization really high up and powerful was able to call off a hit that the Penguin ordered, also suggests, okay, is it just Asima's that powerful, or that she works for an entity that is that powerful? Yeah,
and a lot of money is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and they're basically trying to figure out immortality. So rich people would do all this for that.
Thematically, we know that's something that Taylor's been tackling all across his DC books. You know, from his Suicide Squad through the John Kent Superman book, Nightwing. So yeah, so it checks out on his end too. That of course, you know, people with money would be able to stop something like that because, you know, they want this to keep going.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what are you giving Detective Comics, Matt?
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I thought it was a really strong issue.
Yeah, I find it hard to disagree. I think it's got some great moments. I think... the only reason why I wouldn't go even higher than 8.5, it doesn't really do anything wrong. Well, there's nothing wrong. It just... Like, there's just a perfect structure to an issue that's like a 9 or a 10. And this, you can almost feel the different parts of it, but it's a really solid issue.
You can see the seams a bit.
Yeah. But no, Bat Family stuff was fun. All those big climatic moments were fun. The teasing of who the villain is. Well, it seems obvious. I mean, if anything, if they want to shock me now, they would just turn it to be the girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
Because it would be a surprise.
There is no swerve.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. Superman issue 22, legacy number 865, Joshua Williamson writing with Dan Mora on the art. So this was all right. Like, I think this was a decent enough issue. Williamson's not ruined this arc yet, so that's fun. I will say, there was one thing a little bit that annoyed me at the start, but it wasn't like a big thing, but it just irked me. Not the opening page. The opening page is like Perry and his wife went on a double date with Jimmy and Silver Banshee. And that's whatever. But basically, the page ends with them seeing the armada of ships in the sky for the aftermath team up of all these like doomsday survivors. And there's a whole point back here where the leader of the team, Aftermath, comes out. He's got a name later. I can't remember what it is, but he comes out. And he says, "Hey, Superman, we come in peace." And Lois is like, "You just said that you'd destroy the entire world if we don't hand over Doomsday." And all I could think was, from like a writing perspective, is that if you just didn't have them say that, if you just had the cliffhanger last issue be the ships show up and look intimidating, there might be some weight to him saying, "We come in peace. We're not actually, like we're here for Doomsday. We're not here to, attack the planet." It would have at least let you suspend your disbelief that they weren't going to be a threat. But because they said, "We'll kill you all if you don't give us Doomsday already," and then have Lois actually point it out, it just kind of felt weird to me. Like, why did you have them say that if you wanted to like tease the idea that maybe there will be no conflict?
Yeah, because I think it's to the point that Lois, being the truth seeker, right, is just like, well, no, they can say they come in peace, but they're not really in peace. They came in a gunship with guns pointed at us. That's not peace. But
But I think the moment in a minute where she's like talking to him and catches out that he's not telling them stuff, and like catches the part where it sounds like, "Oh no, you've got an ulterior motive here. You want to use Doomsday as a weapon. You're no better than the people that built him if you actually want to use them as that kind of thing." Like, because he says a big game, he's like, "Hey, we'll take Doomsday away. You'll never have to worry about him again." Like, is any one life on Earth worth Doomsday possibly someday getting out of the Black Mercy trap you've got him in? Like, he's making not terrible points, but he's also being very vague about what they're actually going to do with them. He just says, "Oh, me and my people will take care of him. You'll never have to worry about him again." Yeah, but like, what are you doing? Like, if you kill him, he'll get stronger. If you put him in a place where you want to put him because you're maybe you're going to be like mercenaries and you're just paid off to like destroy civilization, so you just drop Doomsday in.
Drops Doomsday and we'll take him away. They create a problem that only they can solve. And
it's a racket. It's the
step 3 profit.
It's the mafia going around saying, "Hey, you're going to give us protection money from us,"
or there's going to be a fire.
Yeah.
What fire? This fire. And because I like where Lois goes. Well, there it is. After he says, "We have our ways, he'll be put to good use," and she's like, whoa. So I do like that Lois is the one that points that out.
Yeah. So yeah, it gets a little high tense a couple of moments when he's talking to Superman here. There's a little bit where he refers to Lois as your queen, and then when she actually like catches him out on like the lie, he's like, "Oh, my queen gets it. Like, go ahead, Superwoman," and then she sort of does the whole journalist speech. So so of course he decides, well, if that's what you really feel like, and all this light starts coming out of him, and he like turns into his natural form. I presume. Yeah.
So I did some digging, and there was a Dan Jurgens story that was told after the death and return of Superman.
Yeah, there's an editor's note in here for this.
Yep. About that, and so I went and dug into that. Kind of hard to find summaries of, but from what I can gather was on this planet of Calaton, they were one of the first ones that Doomsday took out, and they had created this hero who was known as the Radiant. And that's what this being is. I don't know if he is the Radiant that died and has now been revived because, as Lois says, there's no heartbeat. But I don't know if that's because he's a being of pure energy right? But a version of the Radiant was killed by Doomsday, and that's where Superman is able to
Yeah,
they throw
I've not read that
the black hole and
Doomsday.
stuff.
Yeah, that Doomsday mini that this
Yeah.
comes from.
Mhm.
But if I was to make a guess, I would say that did they maybe make a being that keeps coming back like Doomsday does? Is maybe
That's
the
what I'm
point?
guessing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing here. Because I forget how that ended, or I didn't find out how it ended, but it did end with the death of the Radiant and Superman feeling like he kind of failed them. So again, this is one of those things where Superman's promises have come back that he couldn't keep. So now it's kind of representative of this, and that plays into the time trapper, Doomsday being like, this is all a mess. Just if you kill me and make me a god, this will all go away. So it almost feels like they're putting him into a Kobayashi Maru kind of scenario.
All right. So once he like soups up and he's going to go and attack and go get Doomsday, they call Supergirl, who's guarding Doomsday at the lab, and she's preparing to get things done. I have to point out here, right? I think the art's very hit and miss in this issue. There's a lot of like weird panels with the faces looking odd, but then there's some panels that look pretty good, but it's definitely inconsistent. There was a very egregious weird error in the art on the page where Supergirl first appears. There's a funny moment in the book, right? It's because Mercy calls Lex Lexi, and Supergirl turns around and goes, Lexi, and like they get embarrassed. It's a funny little beat, but like the art, like the artist has made this weird choice to have Supergirl. She sort of turns around and looks, and the hair's covering the eye, but the eye's like still drawn in, like on top of the hair, and it just like, I'm not accusing them of actually doing this, but it looks like the type of mistake AI would make.
Yeah,
right.
I get what you're saying.
It's just I either have the hair, if seeing the eye is important for the expression, and I think it is, then just have the hair be a little bit nudged over, right? Just so you can see more of it. And what's worse, Matt? Do you know what's worse? They do it correctly a few pages later. See if you just go a few pages later. Right. Yeah, so it's the page where at the bottom of the page, Supergirl, it's not the exact same expression, but she's looking sort of in the same direction, and her hair's kind of like going down the side of her eye, and it's not get the weird thing. It looks normal. It looks correct as it's supposed to. She says, "Is that's that page," which is like maybe 4 or 5 after the previous one. So they do it correct. They do a very similar pose where the eye is important to getting what the expression is, but it's achieved normally. This feels like there was like a mistake where like it was supposed to be scrubbed out on the original pen. Like, he drew the whole thing in for the proportions to make sure it looked right, but then didn't erase the rest of the eye, and then like the rest of the chain just never noticed it and just kept keeping it. Like, they never went, oh, that's a mistake, that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, so what it looks like to me is that they had it where it was going to cover her eye, and then he realizes that he needed the eye for the expression, and they just never cleaned it up. And like you said, they didn't push the hair back over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and by the way, the one that you said a couple pages later, that's Lena. You could tell by the hair.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, well, I mean, regardless of who it is, though, it's the same thing.
Your point still stands that it's the same expression,
You know what? Lena looks different enough in most of the other panels, but because it's a close-up and it's just the blonde hair and you can see the S on the shoulder of the jacket, I thought it was Supergirl again. No, you're right. So basically, yes, Lexi and Mercy are kind of being
that is their couple name. Yeah, funnily enough, this is Lexi.
Well, it's either that or Mercs.
Yep. That sounds like a drug.
Yeah.
Get on Mercs.
So the Super Family are all trying to protect the city from all the Armada and all that, and they're all shocked to look over and see that Doomsday has been broken out of his cell, but there's a big 2-page spread of Superman and Doomsday fighting back to back against the Armada. And this moment conflicts me a little bit, because like, I get that they wanted the visual of like, this is weird, Superman and Doomsday fighting side by side, but it's also kind of strange because like, I wouldn't really call it fighting side by side. They happen to be kind of on the same side, but Doomsday is literally killing people right behind Superman right now. Superman's not approving of this.
No, he is straight up tearing guys in half, and Superman's trying not to hurt them. So yeah, they
Look, if
temporarily have a similar cause, but they're doing it in different ways.
Yeah. If it was a real team up, then I would expect somehow Doomsday has agreed on a no killing rule for a little bit. Like, you know, it's like, okay, we'll work together this time, and that means no killing, right? Not that I would. I'm not saying this current Doomsday would speak like that, but hey, it's only a couple of pages later we're getting smart Doomsday from the future, your time trapper. So clearly it's on the cards at some point.
Yeah.
So Silver Banshee is holding up Jimmy so that he can try and get a photo of Superwoman, because Jimmy thinks that Lois has been distracted because she's upset that they can't get a photo of Superwoman. So he's determined to get one, even though that's exactly what she's trying to avoid. And yeah, the Radiant, is that what he's called?
Yep, the Radiant. He goes straight for Jimmy.
Yeah, he sees Jimmy and says, okay, that's a civilian. I'm going to go kill him to prove my point to Superman. But then time freezes and the blast stops right in front of him, and Lois turns round and sees Time Trapper, old Doomsday, who says, "Hey, you're Lois Lane. Maybe you could, make the right decision that'll help save Superman, because Superman's not willing to listen to me." So it says next time Time Trapper versus Superwoman, which is an interesting cliffhanger, I guess. So I think this is a decent issue. I think there's some fun moments. I think the conversation between the Radiant and Superman and Lois is pretty well done. The funny stuff with Lex and Mercy, cliffhanger is pretty solid. It's just some wonky art here or there with that one particularly egregious eye sticking out. But it's still kind of in this place where I kind of like the concept of this arc enough that it's carrying it, but I do think there is a better execution that is possible of it. So I'm liking it, but I'm liking it with kind of a reserved.
Yeah, no, there's definitely the as you pointed out, seeing Superman and Doomsday back to back, regardless if they are that close, it is a very cool image to show you how dire the situation is, and that Superman's preservation of life seems to be important enough that he's willing to save Doomsday from these guys, yet as Doomsday's tearing them in half. It's a very complex and funny image to me. But yeah, ultimately by the time we get to the end, I think I'm more interested in Time Trapper and Lois, and how's he going to pitch this to her? Because as we've seen, she thinks about things a bit differently than Clark.
Yeah, for sure.
So, how is she going to react to the same kind of question that Time Trapper gave him? So yeah.
Yeah. All right, what are you giving Superman?
I'm going to give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7. Yeah. For Williamson's run, this is pretty solid. I wasn't mad, right? You have a lot of nitpicks, sure, but I wasn't mad. Yeah. So, call that a win. Wonder Woman issue 17, legacy number 817, Tom King writing with Bruno. No, it's not. I didn't change the name from last time because Bruno Redondo did the last issue, which is why it says Bruno Redondo.
This is Sempere.
Yeah, back to Sempere of the Daniel variety. So yeah, cool. So yeah, much like the last couple issues, Wonder Woman's on her own with the kid and doing her own kind of sentimental thing. Whereas it's the Wonder Girls, and this is the beauty of this part of this run, is this arc with having Wonder Woman saying, no, my daughter's more important than going and being Wonder Woman right now. It's really given a lot of great stuff to the other character. The Wonder Girls get a lot of shine, both in this issue, also the issue where they were showing up and ruining all the money that the Sovereign had. They've had some good and then obviously that first issue back in issue 4, 5, 6, whatever that was, where Diana told them all to back off, and then they all said, "F you, Diana, we're helping you." Yeah, that was a great issue,
and that was going against the Sovereign recruiting the villains.
Yes,
too.
Yeah.
So
which, you know what? Do you know how many comic book runs where I would struggle to reference an issue that happened over a year ago? Because that's most of them. But I can remember that issue very vividly. So
It's and it's a well-told story.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's because Tom King really writes these guideposts throughout where you can go back and remember that very distinctly. So credit to him.
Yeah, the issues feel very distinct. So yeah, so the main story of this is that the Sovereign has hightailed it to hang out with the team he put together of all the villains that hate Wonder Woman. And he's hiding there in his original family home, this rich mansion somewhere in the
up the Potomac River. So it's up the river in the interior of the DC area.
Okay. I do know Potomac River is in Washington or around Washington because that's where Holly's plane is going to crash in Die Hard 2 if John McClane doesn't stop the bad guys.
There you go.
That's the only reason why I know that's near Washington or in Washington. Anyway, so this is basically the Wonder Girls assaulting this house. And they do it one by one to start with, where you get a page of Giganta walking down a hall and Donna's hiding behind a pillar with her lasso and she's ready to go. And honestly, right, there's a few crowd-pleasing moments in this, but Donna putting the lasso around her neck, leaning into her ear and saying, "Grow, bitch." It's such a funny moment.
It's so good. Because then you remember that it's the lasso of persuasion.
Yes.
Yeah, so then that
she wants her to ruin the house. So that's she wants her to demolish that, and she does. The next page is it's the title page of the book. It's a big 2-page spread of Giganta just bursting through this mansion. And Donna is dangling from her neck with a lasso.
It's so good.
Yeah. It's just a big epic moment. It's this very strategic, but just the idea. Obviously, it's censored because they always censor these words.
And that's another thing that King does very smartly is that he censors words, and so it makes them stand out more, right? Because if he just wrote that in there as normal, it doesn't. We're just okay. But the fact that it is censored, you can really focus on it a bit more.
I mean, it depends on the context, maybe, but I think bitch would normally be censored. I don't think that's...
No?
Yeah,
you think I think maybe it's one of those ones that depends on the usage of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they always obviously censor shit or, whatever, F-bombs, so on. Or in the case of this issue later on, the word whore. Which is the other one that made me laugh because the word filthy comes before it. So, I mean, there is context where you'd say something after filthy that's different, but I think in the way it's said, I'm no, the last word she said there was whore. There's no other thing she could have said. So that's Donna's introduction. Then it's a Swan in the rubble after this has happened. Gets hit with one of Yara's... Bolas, thank you. And yeah, so that's her and Yara's got a cool introduction here as well because she's hey, I have to I don't want you to pick this, but Deanna will be very upset if I don't give you the option of a peaceful surrender. And so says, hey, so this is what I'm trying to do. And that's when Swan's get her name out of your mouth, you filthy whore, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it could have been worse too. It is 4 letters, and I know they don't correspond. But she could have dropped a C-bomb on her too.
Whoa, that's a lot harsher than I think they maybe were intending.
Silver Swan does have a very, she's very intense.
I mean, look, if you want to read it that way, you can. I won't take it from you. I think it's fun to me because obviously Silver Swan has this weird jealousy connection to Diana. So this idea of you can't say her name, even though Diana literally lets her use the name Wonder Girl. So clearly she's passed the baton on a lot more than you.
Swan is a bit of a lot of things, but most of all might be deluded.
She stands Wonder Woman.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what she
is. Silver Swan, Stan. It's the same thing.
Yes, there you go. So you tackle, and Yara's got the funny follow up to that, which is so just to confirm, that's a no on the gentle, So yeah, I got a good chuckle out of that. It keeps going back to Diana in between these pages, and then you get to Angleman, who Cassie punches through the wall, and comes sauntering in.
It was kind of unfair to punch through the wall because you couldn't see it coming. and there's pieces of the wall there, and this was kind of unfair of me. So just her talk there also was making me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all very funny, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
all these like scenes kind of end with the mid fight. I mean, Cassie, I think more than the other two, seems like she's in trouble because Angleman like traps her in like a time warp with his set square
with his magic triangle. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm calling it a set square because that's what it looks like. It looks like when you're in school and you're doing engineering drawings, it looks like a set square.
That's yeah. It is an engineer square.
Yeah. And anyone who's never used one is like, why are you calling it a square? It's a triangle. It's like, they're called set. I know it's a triangle, but they're called set squares.
It's because you have to make angles with them. Hence, Angle Man.
Exactly. So now, if you'd asked me before I read this, like, could I tell you what his weapon does? I couldn't have told you a damn thing. But that's fun. We get to learn these things together. It's nice. So Grail helps the Sovereign into his secret passageway, where he skedaddles, and basically because as with all the issues, Sovereign's narrating, and he basically gets to the point here where he's like, hey, like our team should have won this fight, right? They've all but bested Wonder Woman by themselves at one point or another. They should have won these fights with the Wonder Girls. And the ultimate kind of like resolution to it is that when they're all kind of in trouble in their own fights with these various villains, is that it ends up being that they kind of like swap and like help each other out to win their separate fights, which is really fun. Where Donna like jumps off the lasso she's dangling from Giganta and like falls into the room where Angleman is and crushes him, breaking the angle spell on Cassie. Yara throws one of the blades that she was almost stabbed with by Swan over to wherever.
Yeah, so she's on the ground, and because she's got some distance between her and Swan, but Swan uses her wings.
Yes.
And she's getting towards her neck, and it's going through Yara's hands, right? She's trying to stop the blades, but she's getting cut up, and it seems dire, but she's able to break that off through her bleeding hands, and then throws it in a general direction.
Yeah, and then Cassie takes the angle, the set square, and throws it at Giganta's ankle, which makes her, fall in pain. So it ends up being this thing where they all and then she throws the set square over to Yara, who uses it on the Swan. So yeah, they've won. They take out all the bad guys that are fighting them. Dr. Psycho's just knocked out from the rubble, so
which I love that they kind of in the narration from the Sovereign was like, well, he was no use anyways. Kind of like he doesn't even like Dr. Psycho.
He also says something like, oh, because of my superior bloodline and genes, he's weaker than me, so he's passed out. So we just left him there. So, and then the big reveal at the end of the main part of the story is that this secret tunnel went for miles, and he is sitting in the Oval Office in the White House as the last sanctuary he can retreat to, and this is where Wonder Woman will have to come for him. And I'm like... And I think the implication there is that's the president who's had to like stand up and give him his chair that's standing next to him, which is kind of a funny idea.
Can I just say, after the week that we've had here in the States, this ending hit a bit differently.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I know that when this was written, there's been time set, whatever, but Tom King really has that knack.
Obviously he wrote this at least like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Probably more.
But just the timing and as things are falling apart.
I felt the same way. And Justice League Unlimited does like a forest fire, and I went, I mean, not that there's not been some of the every year for a while now, but specifically this past couple of weeks, that's been a particularly big thing. So
So the president standing and letting somebody else take charge of things, again, very prescient. Someone with a storied history and a past and an untold fortune.
I'm sure the Sovereign's about to unban TikTok right now, and he's taking the chair. Maybe he's going to go after Greenland.
God damn. That's not even funny to joke about anymore. Anyways. On the Diana story on here, I thought was also a bit, sentimental in a good way, because you see her taking her daughter through the island, and you see her pulling this gigantic piece of rock up a hill,
All
then
while telling her the story of how she met Steve, and saying he crashed
right?
on the island, and I saved him from the wreckage, and he was injured, and so on and so on. Yeah.
And as we see that, it wasn't just she wasn't just trained in the arts of combat, but in also other forms of art, like kind of these social aspects, just archery, astronomy, fencing, wrestling, gymnastics, philosophy. So there's a mental, skill in addition to all the physical skills she learned, and including sculpting. And we see that, we saw how she formed her daughter from the sand, and the piece of Steve's soul into her, and that's where the baby comes from. But now we see her forming a memory of Steve in this marble. And we see that sculpting was one of the skills that she had learned on the island as well.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's just this nice little balance of for Lizzie.
yeah, not to like take anything away from it, but I basically called what she was doing with the rock like very quickly. I'm like, she's building a Steve, like she's making a Steve statue, like that. Like I got it pretty early. But that's fine, because I don't think it's meant to be like a big whoa. That's what she was doing this whole time. Like I think it's meant to be something you're getting, especially since she's talking about him constantly the entire time she's doing
there's
it.
that, and she's talking to Lizzie about Steve and the legacy of him and about their past. But then also this whole issue is about the Wonder Girls and what they've become, because of Diana and without Diana, right? They're carrying on her mission while she's taking care of, of her child on the island. And it's just this really nice thing of this is who's coming next, and this is the life that we're leading, that with the right kind of care and training to the people, that are coming up behind you, they're capable of great things. And it's driven home here by her creating this memorial of Steve.
Yeah. And obviously the art throughout is fantastic. I'm looking at that final page right now, and just again the sort of heavy inks and the shadows of the face of the Sovereign just make him look so sinister and menacing, like a petulant child who like still wants to somehow win. We mentioned the big 2-page spread where Giganta gets big and all that stuff, and all of it looks great. And the moments that are funny, the moments where Yara's like doing the fake gesture of like, hey, shall we do this peacefully, or Donna's moment of grow bitch, like they're all helped, but the expressions, they're all helped with the performances of the characters in the panel. So
well, and the body language too, like the way that Cassie walks through the wall, it's almost kind of awkward. Versus
the sort of swaggery look that Yara has when she's standing there. And whereas Donna's more like, no, Donna's like like more serious. Like she's the Dick Grayson. Well, not even Dick Grayson. She's the I don't know. Compare it to whatever you want, but like,
just the body language between the three, it's all there. And then even the distorted panel of Cassie is super, super, super. It's almost Cronenbergian, right? Like there's some body horror elements going on here.
It's a bit swirly, I guess is how I put it.
So, but yeah, that's just across the board. Sempere's art. The other page I want to spotlight too is when we see that they're all having trouble, right? You have Donna almost comically swinging from the Giganta, and then the blade from Swan cutting Yara's neck, and then it looks like Cassie's completely helpless in that warp thing, and the way that they're all just, it ramps up to then the switch where now they're essentially going to switch enemies, and that's how they're going to win. Is their their teamwork is really well handled by Sempere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's another really great issue in this run, in this sort of triple part arc that we've had, because we know this sort of overall story is ending with this arc. Now, that's not everything, because we still have the Amazon who murdered people. We still have all that stuff. But this kind of initial Sovereign story is wrapping up with this issue, so, or with this arc, I should say. So, no. All right, what are you giving Wonder Woman?
Stand back, because this is a 9.5.
Whoa. I don't think I'm going quite that high. Just purely because the structurally it's solid, right? But it's
Mhm.
almost the exact same structure as the one where they're gonna have to raise money. So it just felt a little bit less special from like a inventiveness to me compared to that. But that said, it's still a 9 out of 10. It's still excellent stuff. So yeah, there you go. Uh, and weirdly, on the same day, Absolute Wonder Woman issue 4, Kelly Thompson with Hayden Sherman on the art. So this is issue 4 of 5 for this arc. And last issue ended with Wonder Woman telling the city that she was going to make them all deaf and to not panic because this will stop the monster from luring them all into their death. So this issue opens with them and them being Wonder Woman and Steve going to see Etta and Etta's sister, who apparently is a Wiccan of sorts.
Yeah, she does witchcraft and the hedge witch kind of. She uses all these different ingredients to do spells and protections and whatnot. And that's what Dinah needs as someone that does do magic as well.
Yeah, she's run out of supplies. She doesn't need their help with the magic, just the supplies. She's put a bubble around their building so they can speak. And because they're freaking out at first. Oh god, I just said something. I can hear. Whoa! Like, we have to go. So yeah, they're writing things on like a notepad and like showing it to each other to communicate, which makes sense. Everyone would be doing that. But yeah, as this goes, there's some fun little bits here. I really like the little moment where Etta's like, "Hey Steve, remember how you said you met this woman on this island and I didn't believe it ever happened? Well, you undersold her." That's like a fun little bit. It's those little Kelly Thompson touches, like when Wonder Woman's got all the stuff for the ritual to get her arm back, and she like sits in the separate room and she does the thing and she talks to Hecate or whoever and is like, "Yo, give me my arm," blah blah blah. And they're on the outside of the door and they've all got bandages wrapped around their arm. And they're basically, Ed is complaining to Steve that Steve never mentioned that part of this spell would require them all to donate some blood because she needs like a lot of blood for the spell. And they're just kind of like bickering, and her sister's like, "Yeah, like you wouldn't have volunteered if Steve hadn't done it first." And it's that Kelly Thompson banter where they just feel like fun characters when they interact with each other that I just really enjoy.
Well, yeah, and the sister's like, "You shut up," and Steve's like, "You both shut up." It's paced very well.
Yeah. And we get a flashback to the island in Hell, where Cersei was basically given the power of prophecy, of visions, where she Hecate comes down and gives her like future visions of what Diana is going to be and visions of what's going to happen, so that she knows how to train her. And it's kind of like, obviously there's a lot of Cersei gets on her knees and kind of like prays and begs to her and whatnot. But ultimately, it's like, no, you're where you're supposed to be, and you're the person for this job. Like, I'm trusting you with this important thing. And I wasn't actually sure when this happened. Like, part of me, I wasn't clear. It wasn't until she went back into the cave and like Diana's there as a child where I went, oh, okay, so this was like early on in Diana's life, and like she's like Cersei's got this like eyes of horror in her face, so she's like, "Oh, I need to train you. I need to make you the best of the best," and all that. So, interesting seeing kind of Cersei taking that on that motherhood role, and like just how different it is to Hippolyta in traditional Wonder Woman, because it's kind of this thing she's like forced into, but it's only just her on the island for company. She's got no one else she can go to. There's a lot of things that make it feel very different.
Yeah, with Hippolyta and the way that she crafted Diana and had her born and took on that responsibility, it was a why not me? Why can't I be a mother to someone? And here with Cersei, it's why me? And then when Hecate's like, "You're like the only one that can train this girl to do what she needs to do." And then when she comes back, she goes, "Oh, I just had a dream." And Diana's like, "About what?" "The future." She does what she needs to do, and I like that. There's a bit of a cosmic horror to that, because when you see Hecate, it's a version that I haven't really seen before. We still get the whole essence of 3 here because she has 3 sets of arms and whatnot, but she is kind of horrific here. You can't really see her face. The hair's kind of up going around, and there's definitely a creepy aspect to her So when we end that scene with Cersei staring up into kind of the abyss too, it gives it a little bit of a creepy factor.
Yeah, and one of the things that I liked as well is Diana is talking to Candy and kind of points out, oh, you used to serve in the military or something, right? And she's like, well, I did, but, now I'm on my own. I'm a private investigator. And Diana kind of says, oh, that's good. That means you now work for yourself. And it is like, you've got a way of like phrasing almost anything in a way where it sounds just better. And it's again that kind of hope and optimism from Wonder Woman. But then we get back into the kaiju stuff. We get back into the monster, who is now, because the whole luring them in with the sound's not working, it's now stomping through the streets as a kaiju is wanting to do. It's
looking for people.
Yes. Yeah. And Diana goes and prepares a sword. Right, she gets a sword out of the water, and it's glowing red. And then she uses like a magic potion to basically unleash like a wall of like sound and like words to lure the monster back out to the water. And from here, like she's done something to her sword, right? Where she kneels down, it lights up when she touches it, and then she picks it up, and then it just keeps getting bigger, right? Because then the next page, she's lifting it up and like she's like hugging the handle with her arms, and it's like maybe 50 foot tall, and she's like, I had the right idea before but try to kill this thing, but I just needed a bigger weapon. So you get like there's two little panels at the top as well, but there's like two big kind of panels that are almost the shape of the blade, right? It's kind of neat actually. And the first panel is her lifting it up, and then the second panel is like looking down as it's going down towards the monster. And it leads to this big 2-page layout where you see just like a third of the monster cut off of it, like a big slice going down. Not quite the middle, which I like actually, because like it wouldn't be that perfectly aimed. So and we get a cross section of what makes this thing work. And it's all it's real gross, and I feel like that third makes that stand out even more. Yeah, absolutely. And then the ending is that in the White... that's weird that both the issues Wonder Woman, both Wonder Woman and Absolute Wonder Woman both ended in the White House this week. But Veronica Cale in the Absolute Universe is in the White House as the security advisor. National security advisor. So, yeah, it seems like Veronica Cale might have an issue with Wonder Woman's existence. And the fact that it says next no good deed is the tease, it makes me think, oh, she's just going to see Wonder Woman as a threat or as someone who should be monitored because she's too powerful or et al. So
it just killed this thing, Wonder Woman, because I don't know what Wonder Woman is, right? And it seems like this is the bigger threat now, right? Look what she did.
So, I imagine the locals are going to really love her, but the rest of the country is going to be like, nah, it's fake. It's this did this or whatever. So
her making the sword gigantic and then flying it up into the atmosphere to essentially drop it to slice this thing. I was like, this is definitely a Final Fantasy thing. Right, I remember from playing the game, you would have things like that where you would do your special move or whatever it was called, and stuff would happen like that. And I was like, oh man, I do like that it's leaning into that kind of fantasy versus the more mythological aspect of the character, because we get that in everyday Wonder Woman. So how do we be different? We lean into different fantasy tropes.
Yeah, it's very metal. It's taking just a weapon and turning it into like like Wonder Woman. I mean, I'm gonna say a normal sized woman. Wonder Woman's like 6 foot, but like for a regularly normal sized human, just picking up a sword that's big enough to cut through a kaiju or equivalent is just kind of an epic scene. So I can't fault the art and the page where it sets up where she goes up and comes back down, and then the big page of actually slicing through the thing. It's just this big, it's epic, it's great. So, yeah.
Well, and I also, we were talking about some of the smaller moments too, where Steve takes Diana to at his sister's shop. And he's like, oh, I she asked if I knew any witches, and I said I did. And there's just this at the top of the page where she goes, wait, me? Like, it's this realization that so someone like Wonder Woman, that she's useful in this type of scenario to Wonder Woman. I thought that was a real nice human moment in a book that has a giant sword and a kaiju. But
yeah, still a lot of fun. The action's good. The character building here kind of takes a little bit more center stage because we're getting to know, Diana and Etta's relationship a bit more, and Steve's relationship a bit more. Obviously, it was very exciting last issue with Barbara first kind of interacting with Wonder Woman, but this was still super interesting for seeing how these characters are. Because Etta being a PI could be interesting depending on what they're going to do with that. But what do you give an absolute Wonder Woman, Matt?
I'm going to give this a 9.
Whoa. What do I give it? I mean, yeah, I'm having a hard time faulting it. So yeah, okay, 9 out of 10. I agree.
Strong week for Wonder Woman.
It's a very strong week
for Wonder Woman. It would seem a detriment to have them both out on the same week, but they are so different, and they're both great in their own ways. That just high grades around.
For sure. That was a long yawn. Sorry, everyone.
I thought you dropped out for a second.
No, I'm crashing. I'm crashing hard. All right.
Well, we'll get through.
Justice League Unlimited issue 3. Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the R. So, this is where the Amazon rainforest is on fire, but it's not natural. There's these pillars that are making it go on fire, and that's what the main focus is of what the Justice League's up to during the issue. But you've also got Airwave hiding in the walls because he doesn't feel comfortable in his room, and Renee Montoya finds him and is like, "Hey, don't come and stay in here. You can stay in your room. No one's going to throw you out or abandon you." All of this just, of course, making it's going to feel worse when they've all found out that he's been betraying them. So,
well, it's just like, I know why you're doing this, and you know what? I'm a detective. I figured all this out. You tried to hide it, but you can't. And he's thinking he's been found out, but she's like, no, you don't have a family to go back to like the rest of those lost children, So we can be your family. And you're just like, oh man, it's gonna be so bad when they find out he's a bad guy.
Yeah, there's that. I think the standout for this issue though has got to be the little subplot, which is the Atoms and Plastic Man go to Linya from from the Terrifics, because it turns out she and Plastic Man swap powers, and when they get there, Plastic Man keeps accidentally phasing through things because he doesn't know how to control them.
Yep.
But she, when they find her, is because she doesn't know how to control Plastic Man's powers, that means her entire body is just like a melted candle, and she doesn't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
But she's too embarrassed to be seen by anyone or go outside. So she's delighted for them to test the power swapping back device on them, which does work, seemingly. And
just her. When they go to her and she says, "Please, I want to go home," it's so, man, so sad.
It's very, very good. So, the main stuff though is Superman, Stripe, Stargirl, Wonder Woman, Star Sapphire, and Flash are dealing with the fires. And they realize that this isn't just regular flames; it's magical flames caused by, because when Superman tries to touch some of the flames, he ends up, having to freeze his hands to.
I do like that he's freezing his hands. Like when you go to grab, you go to grab the cookies out, but the oven mitt isn't working great, right? Yeah.
I was, my main didn't jump to baking cookies. I thought you were to talk about a packet of cookies that would be in the cupboard, and then you said, and it was like, oh no, it makes sense now because you said oven. Okay, yeah. I was wondering where you were going with that.
Got there, but and it's the same kind of fire that caused the death of the Green Martians for Jean too, that they mentioned. Is that what do they call it? It's like the everlasting flame.
Yeah, something like that.
Something along those lines. You're like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
And they point out that they can't find Jean, but Batman's on the case. He's trying to find him.
Just follow the trail of Choco. Speaking of cookies, you'll find Jean there. You know?
It feels like eventually we're going to have to do some sort of Mars story or something, just like a more full fleshed out thing to explain what's going on with these characters a bit more. But yeah, like I say, they find her and she's like sausage or spaghetti that's kind of dripping because she doesn't know how to control it, so it's all just melting into plastic.
Yeah.
It's a real like sort of Hellraiser style visual.
Yeah. She's the lost Cenobite that doesn't want to be a Cenobite.
Yes. Which is weird because usually by the time they're Cenobites, they're like beyond the point of thinking it's like weird. They're like, pain yes, no, this is my pleasure. No,
it's not pain or pleasure. It's yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. How do you torture a masochist?
Yeah.
Because they'll just love it. They'll just keep saying, no, don't do more. That'd be so terrible.
What does Pinhead said? Angel to some, demons to, or I don't know the full line. That movie gave me the ick.
Oh dear. Well,
yeah. It's not a bad movie. I just don't ever watch it again.
It's a cheery romp, is what it is.
Yeah.
So eventually, Inferno, the big hooded figure, which seems to be the leader of Inferno, shows up, and yeah, so Superman or like as it goes on, they need Aquaman to go get Swamp Thing because they realize that the one thing that might fight the fire is the green. And it seems like that's what the villains are trying to do, because that's the thing. Like in issue 1, when they tried to like do the blow up or set fire to the mines, is like okay, they stand to benefit financially from that because they're competition or whatever, but there's nothing to benefit from burning down the Amazon rainforest. All you're going to do is speed up climate change considerably and cause some problems for a lot of people, but not something that you can profit from.
And they're like, well, wait, if they do this, they can weaken the green, they can take control of it. And so that's the thing, is they're trying to get control of the green. So so they send Aquaman, and there's a slight tie to the current World's Finest story that's going on, with Floronic Man. And there's a little, editor's note that says, "Oh, see where these two interacted before." But it's weird that they're calling that they're addressing Swamp Thing as Levi, but Levi, I don't think is the Swamp Thing that's going to be involved in World's Finest. Right, so I mean, to me, as a fan of the character of Swamp Thing.
Oh yeah, to be fair, Aquaman says that. He says, "I went on an adventure with your predecessor." Once.
Did I miss that? Oh, I did miss that.
Yeah, he says that. Yeah, he says like.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I got you.
Yeah. Well,
ignore what I just said.
Yeah. So you've got the character from was it Spirit World? Was the name of the book?
Yes, Xantha.
Yeah, Xanthi. That's the right one. So they're helping out and getting lots of stuff going. Just kind of cliffhangers after the whole what seems to be the destruction of Swamp Thing, because Swamp Thing just like it's like the fire comes up and takes him immediately, where it's like, oh yeah, you think Levi can save you. We can just make him turn on fire like the forest because he's the green. And sure enough, the issue ends with Swamp Thing seemingly burning to his death. I'm sure he'll come back, but he's not popping back up in 20 seconds, I'll tell you that much.
No. But yeah, Airwave there too. Not looking good. If this is a slasher movie, ain't looking good for Arthur.
No.
The call's coming from inside the house.
He might get to confess everything before he dies, but this could be it for him.
So, I keep thinking like they brought up Mars, they brought up these other, they brought up Jean and stuff. I feel like Waid's trying to make us think that that some contingent of White Martians is Inferno, and I feel that that's a red herring going on here. But I keep there's certain things, certain hints that it's going that way, and knowing that he's a student of continuity and whatnot, it wouldn't surprise me that the first Justice League story or Justice League Unlimited would be paying homage to that Morrison run a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will have to wait and see. I can see them not revealing some stuff until a little bit later, but I mean the art's obviously solid. Dan Mora does some really good stuff. I think maybe in the past month or so, because he's been doing 2 books a month, we've maybe commented that maybe some panels are a little bit more rushed looking than others.
Yeah.
But Rush Dan Mora is still better than a lot of artists, so it's not that much to complain about, really. And
there's nothing too egregious here. I think everything still looks pretty good. I can't pinpoint certain things that would be rushed. There's a lot of detail in that melting Phantom Girl, right? So, just pretty good all around.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very good. Honestly, it really does feel like an animated show. Like it feels there's so many characters, there's so many things going on. It feels like yeah, like the Just League Unlimited cartoon. And it's fun. It's not like feeling like it's super hard hitting. I don't know if it's going to hit hard like say that scene in Detective Comics this week, but it's playing with a lot of these characters, and yeah, the fact that Plastic Man and Linya get to have a nice moment in this issue is just like, hey, we're going to spend some time actually developing some of these side characters a little bit. And not be a ton, because you can only do so much where you've got like, you know, like, oh, we'll develop Plastic Man a little bit in this issue, but he doesn't have his own book, so that's all he's getting. Yeah, so we'll move on and do an issue maybe that focuses on whoever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in this book, we had Plastic Man, Linya, Dr. Occult, Xantha, the Levi version
Dr.
of something.
Seemingly runs to his... I mean, I'm sure he'll pop up later, but it looked like he ran to his death and got zapped out of existence.
Yeah. You know, he faced it head on. We'll give him that. But yeah, no, it's... And we also got Stripe, too, there, right? We haven't seen Stripe in forever in action, right? Like, he's been the stepdad to Courtney.
I mean, season 1 of Stargirl must have been the last time.
Yeah.
And TV anyway. I don't remember the last time in comics.
Well, no, he was there in Stargirl when we were reading The Lost Children.
You're right. Yeah, he did show up. Okay, yeah, okay, that was actually not long ago.
Yeah.
That book, you know, sadly for a Jeff Johns book, that was forgettable. The only thing that matters is that she brought a bunch of lost kids from sidekicks, you know, timelines and whatnot.
Yeah, so to see them just pop up and be part of the Justice League is pretty cool. You know, does it make it feel like all hands on deck? You know, and because we're so used to seeing the typical people, right? Like Zatanna showing up to the Justice League, we've seen that how many times. Dr. Occult and Xantha, you know, it does make it seem like a much bigger roster to pull from. So
yeah,
Waid knows what he's doing.
All right, I'm trying to remember if there was anything other important we didn't talk about. I don't think so. So yeah, okay, go on, give it a rating.
Yeah, I'll give this a solid 8.
Yeah, it's kind of veering there. I think it might be the weakest of his issues so far of this particular book. I think just because it was cut around so many characters, which the other issues have had, but there was maybe more of a hook by the end of them than perhaps this one did. So yeah, I'll say. I'll say 7.5.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Black Canary, Best of the Best, issue 3, Tom King rating with Ryan Sook on the art. So yeah, so I'll get out of the way. This is probably the weakest issue of the 3. It's still very good, right? It's still got lots of great scenes. It's still really well drawn and all the rest of it. But issue 1 and 2 both had like a really great hook at the end, right? Where end of issue 1, she's going to throw the fight for her mother to save her. End of issue 2, her mother's dying wish is to win the fight. What's she going to like? And that recontextualized everything, and I praised it to high heavens last time. This didn't have that. It didn't have that addition to it that completely shook it up. But it was still very good though. Like, the actual fight scenes were great, and like you know, the Batman shows up for a little bit in the flashbacks, and that's interesting in its own way.
I mean, when Batman's onto you, there's I guess that's not really like, you know, you got to throw the fight, you have to win the fight. But I feel like Batman being onto whatever Dinah's up to, I feel that was supposed to be the big moment, you know. But yeah, no, it like this is the halfway point, and it feels very much like that, right? Like we know she has to get through 6 rounds.
It's the middle issue for sure. Because it chooses this time to do a flashback to how she ended up making this deal with Vandal Savage in the first place. Yeah. And to be honest, like I think part of the reason why I think this is the weakest issue is that these scenes where he's fighting Oliver and then Dinah comes in after are a little abusing in places. I don't really know if we needed an explanation of how she ended up making this deal with him. Yeah. You know, like he obviously has some secrets to everlasting life, and I don't think we have to like give a big reason like why she decided, you know, her mother dying is enough of a reason, and I could have bought that she just went to him. So I guess on some level it just feels like a few wasted pages because we didn't really need to read this part of the story.
I do like Vandal saying that there's I was your mother's mortalist enemy, and then she got older and I stayed the same. But I have a bit of admiration for her still, so I'm willing to make this deal. I do like that little bit of a wrinkle. He looks back on her as this great foe whose life is worthy of preservation.
Yeah. He doesn't just want her to die sick. Like
Yeah. She's a warrior. She deserves to die in battle type deal. So I did like that bit of the wrinkle. And he stabs Ollie in the chest with an arrow and then injects him with something. Was Ollie dead effectively, or was he just out?
I think he was. I mean, maybe the joke is that technically he died, but Vandal gave him something to bring him back.
That's okay.
But I don't know. I think he's probably just out, as far as I guess. That said, though, if we're going to, I mean, Oliver's not a bad character to pick to like also die all the time like Guy Gardner does. So
exactly.
If you want to do that, then that's.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny because that's kind of his gimmick now, is he's the archer that keeps dying. Batman can keep himself alive. Batman's died once. Ollie, you can just keep adding him up at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and in the fight itself, we see it get a little bit more rough and tumble. Canary's thrown to the outside, and then Shiva just decides to do an off-the-top rope move from the middle of the rope. So I was tempted to call it a springboard, but it's not a spring because she doesn't jump up. It's more of a just...
No.
I'm just going to climb the ropes and balance on the top because I'm that athletic, and then jump.
It's definitely a lucha move, and I don't know that it's some type of tope, right? She's coming off the top rope, literally.
It's kind of an elbow drop. She sort of jumps with her legs forward so that she sort of lands on her back and elbows Canary in the back of the head.
Yeah, she also does like a Canadian destroyer type move to Dinah, where she goes up and over, but instead of like a pile driver, she grabs her by the head and neck.
Yeah,
so that's some pretty nasty business.
Yeah, it was when they went out of the ring though, especially when she throws her out of the steps, where I went, "Oh, this is just wrestling now." Like, because even the commentators going, "Oh no, don't do it," and then she throws her out of the steps. I'm like, "This is a wrestling match moment."
Yep. Well, and then she attacks her manager.
That's right.
Heel tactics 101. She goes after Ted.
Yes.
And then Ted tries to fight back, but he ends up getting stomped on. So
and then because it's Ted's taken over because obviously her mom's too sick to be here.
In the corner,
yeah, that's why he's here. So there's layers to like that as well. So yeah, it's all very good.
I will say the opening page where they're trying to do the in between rounds interview with Ted, and he's just giving like the most typical coach answers of, "Yep, got to get back in it. Yep, she's a tough one." I thought that was genuinely funny. So good on them for making me read the actual commentary this time around, because I tried to do the skip it through like you kind of hinted at. I'm like, you don't got to read every little thing, but hearing them comment on Ted not having a comment was very funny.
Yeah, Ted ain't got time for that bullshit. He's too much of a serious man.
Yes,
he's got wild catting to do. He's not got time for petty disputes.
No.
Yeah, so no, it's a very good issue, and obviously the whole Batman thing, which we kind of not really get into yet, is that Batman shows up to like, why are you doing this, Canary? Eventually, the mum like forces him to like help her train because she can't really do a lot of it physically anymore, and Batman's like, is this about money? Because like, I've got the money, like I'll get whatever you need. And Black Canary basically gets offended, saying she doesn't want charity and whatever. But we know it's not just money. It's it's the cure directly to keep her mother alive. But what price does that have? Like if she does that, like I don't know. Like does her mother live to like, because she's already like fairly old? Does she like live another 50 years, which would put her up to like 120 or something like that?
Well, I think the whole point of this is that it should be the mother's choice. Yes. Right? Like, she just wants to see her daughter win, right? That's all she wants, is because I taught you better. You don't quit, and if you go out there and you lose, but you gave it your best shot, right? So I could feel like if she let's say Canary does end up winning and she ends up getting this thing. I could say her mom turning it down is like, no, I had my time.
Yeah, well,
You know?
assuming she tells her she's giving her it.
Yeah. You know? But yeah.
She might roofie her with life.
Yeah, maybe. Roofie her with life. But yeah, I definitely feel like this gets into, that whole warrior spirit and wanting to go out on your own terms and whatnot, and Diana not being okay with that because that's her hero and that's the person that's done it. And but yeah, a lot of good things in here, but as an issue as a whole, it kind of does fall into that middle part of the story trap.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's still very good. It still looks fantastic. Every single page, still very well paced. Really great time. Just didn't quite have the amazing hook that the first 2 issues did. It's the middle chapter, but I can't fault it really too much. So, what are you rating it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The art is so good though. I could still maybe bump it to an 8.5.
That shot of Batman, which we didn't talk about, in the shadows in the forest.
Yeah, and daylight, no less.
Yeah, in daylight, framed by all the trees that she's in frustration used her canary cry to knock down because she keeps kicking the tree. Yeah, her mom told her to fell with kicks.
Yeah, she gets so frustrated that she sort of does a canary cry upwards so that there's like a shock wave that ends up knocking over a bunch of trees. She must have been in Scotland yesterday because the Gale Force winds were really going nuts. She must have been wailing for hours.
Yeah. Wait, are Banshees Irish or Scottish?
More Irish. That's
okay. Silver Banshee more than Canary, but hey,
yeah,
doesn't work.
Yeah, well, there's your proof. Silver Banshee is Irish for a reason. All right. So that's that. Next up, Metamorpho, the Element Man, issue 2. Al Ewing writing with Steve Lieber on the art. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, so this book's doing this thing where there's a overall story of Cyclops trying to mess with Stag and Metamorpho as a whole, and we don't know why. And each issue, it seems like it's going to introduce a new villain that's part of Cyclops. And here, it's the Mad Mod, who is like, you know about the mods and the rockers in history, that whole subset, kind of, swinging 60s Austin Powery type people. They were the mods. That's this guy's entire gimmick, is that he has this thick accent and he talks about the past. But he has like this radio show where they bring up old music. Well, it's a podcast. It's called The Mad Pod. And that Sapphire is I guess a pop star. Didn't know this about her. And that she's getting constantly her spotlight taken from this new up-and-coming singer named Sugar Sweet, who is kind of getting into nostalgia, that singing like these songs about being a housewife and how much better it is, and it's upstaging all of Sapphire's, new modern kind of pop stuff of being a strong woman that stands on her own. And Sapphire's getting upset. Her dad's like, well, I'll figure out a way. I'll get you the best writers to figure this out. And Metamorpho can't take any of this seriously because to him it's just music. So he just starts taking forms of, different things. At one point, he ends up making himself into the complex molecules that turns himself into a glow stick. So just his interior, from his chest down to his waistline is like this glow stick, piece. And while he's distracted by, turning himself into these complex molecules, Element Girl is basically telling Sapphire, like, you guys don't have a lot in common. You're this rich girl. You're this pop star. He's an adventurer who also can turn into chemicals. Like, you guys don't make sense. And, Sapphire starts to almost take the bait where maybe she's right. Maybe, I can't be a pop star anymore. Maybe he just needs to go off and be with her. Java's not having any of this. He wants to go end Sugar Sweet because it's causing Sapphire a lot of distress. And Stag ends up saying, "Hey, let me show you a secret, Java. You're worrying about this too much." And behind a painting of himself, they get into what turns out to be the Mad Mod studio. And Sugar Sweet is laying on a table in pieces. And come to find out that Sugar Sweet is an android that is created by Stag in order to play both sides, right? So he's
playing both sides, so he always comes out on top.
Exactly. And that he wants to give Sapphire a recording career, and so she can be this cool pop star, but also, he's, what does he say? The Mad Mod knows technology and fashion and all this other stuff, so he can also control culture. And so while Sapphire might be the person of today, through the shoes of nostalgia, Sugar Sweet can be the woman of yesterday. And so this ends up becoming part of Mad Mod's, part of his entire scheme to fleece Stag and to turn this technology over to Cyclops, in that he's designed Sugar Sweet to be this indestructible android called the Woman of Tomorrow, who comes out to annihilate Sapphire in Metamorpho. So there's this big fight, and Element Girl and Metamorpho end up teaming up. He ends up becoming this complex molecule in order to get through the indestructible metal. And this makes Sapphire realize that Metamorpho means more than anything to her, and that she's just going to, if that's what she needs to be, just Metamorpho's girlfriend, she'll do that, but she's going to be her own woman. The Mad Mod gets revealed to be working with Cyclops, and he ends up going to jail. But from the jail, he calls his contact, who ends up being Vandal Savage. And at this point, so this book's apparently in continuity, he is the commissioner of Gotham City PD. And he wants to call in some favors, that they're both working for Cyclops. And that he's like, well, I'll get you out, but you got to go hide. Go to Santa Prisca. There's a Cyclops thing there, a cell there. And, this, I guess, gives me reason to look into my old friend. He pulls out a file, and it's Java. So clearly Java and Vandal Savage have some history, both being, from Neanderthals. And, so it's kind of a fun book. It's a bit unfocused at times. I feel like it's pulling from that Silver Agey kind of style of these kind of one-offs. It feels very much like when you're talking about Batman and the Outsiders, to where these kind of one-off stories that play into a greater story. And I know that's not really Silver Age, but that feels the era that Ewing's pulling from. Lieber's art's kind of perfect for that, because everything feels kind of classic. The Metamorpho gags, he does really well. Lieber succeeds at kind of doing cartoony styles, and Metamorpho is perfect for that. So when he becomes the glow stick, or when he's fighting the woman of yesterday, that's, she's been implanted with the best Stag technology. He ends up transforming into these chemicals. What is it? Glucose and carbon residue that ends up getting in through the metal and whatnot. It works out really well. But as a whole, the book's just kind of okay. Like, if this was on a much busier week, I probably wouldn't have made it through it. But as long as it keeps coming on a slow week, I'll keep reading. So I'll give this a straight 7.
All right, cool. Which will take us on to the final thing I'll be talking about this week, which is a Patreon book. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can pick a book for me to read at one of the higher tiers. And today I'm talking about Planetary issue 5. So this is probably the least standalone issue so far, because it's Snow going to visit the guy who they found in the mountain in issue 1, the You know, that the sort of the former superhero whose team was all gone, and he was like the last one defending this portal.
Yep. The not Doc Savage.
Yes, not Doc Savage. The good doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say something which anyone who has heard me talk about issues like this before will see coming, which is that half of this issue is presented in prose, and that's annoying when you're sitting down to read a comic book. Now, admittedly, the font size is pretty big. The actual word count on these pages isn't that bad compared to like what a regular comic book page might be from Speech Bubbles, but it's still a little bit of like a, oh really, we're doing this, are we? And it kind of explains some of the backstory of how Doc Savage. See what you've done there?
Yes.
Yeah, Doc.
Hold on, what's his name? I'll find it for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Axel Brass.
Axel Brass. Yeah, Brass. That's the one. So it basically tells the story of how Brass, not so much how he became like a superhero or whatever, but more how he kind of ultimately turned his arch nemesis into like joining his cause, and that's what led to the formation of the team that was all in that mountain. And you know, there's like some illustrations of him fighting giant spiders and stuff like that. It's all very pulpy. But then when we cut to the present day stuff, it's, you know, it's Snow and Brass just talking at the hospital, and kind of like basically the gist of this issue is there's not so much a plot, but more just this idea of Snow kind of like unloading about his feelings about Planetary in general, about how, you know, where's the money coming from? This fourth man, no one talks about him, or possibly her. It's like that's weird. It's strange. What is the point of Planetary? What's the goal that they have? He hasn't quite fathomed what that is yet, and it's making him uneasy, uncomfortable, whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of interesting. And he kind of like reminisces with Brass, because they're both century babies, seemingly, because they both get born on the 1st of January 1900, and they reference repeatedly that there's a third, Jenny Sparks, and they talk about Jenny Sparks, and because Brass has been in a mountain for so many years, and he, like, you know, at one point they bring out a VCR, and he doesn't really know what that is, kind of thing. He's like, hey, is Jenny still alive? And Snow's like, yeah, according to the news, she's very alive. So it's interesting. I don't know how much Jenny Sparks is going to pop up in this, but given that we've been reading the King book, and I know that some people have had problems with like the portrayal of Jenny in that book versus what her classic character is, but still, it's just interesting to have them bring that stuff up. My main frame of reference for a lot of this is what the Outsiders book did that we got recently, but it's interesting that even something like Jenny Sparks is kind of popping up in its wake. So, yeah, but yeah, that's basically the issue. It's him kind of talking to him about the situation, and then a little bit of theorizing, and Brass is like, hey, you've got a good life, like, with this, right? And there's a great thing with the art here where it shows you him in the cave, like, lying down injured and barely, like, you know, skeletons are around him, the big snowflake of the time, you know, multiverse is there, and the panel underneath is him lying in a very similar pose, but in a more relaxed, with his hands behind his head on the grass of the field that's next to the hospital, kind of showing that he's, you know, he's his time is done. He's served, his tour of duty was over. So yeah, basically the advice he gives to Snow is like, hey, you don't even really know what questions you're asking yet. Maybe figure out what the questions are before you start looking for the answers. And that's where they start talking about who the fourth man is, right? So that's one question. What's the purpose of Planetary? That's another question. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's an interesting issue, and it kind of just wraps up on this somber moment, where, you know, Brass is reminiscing about these glory days in the 30s with his team, and Brass just kind of like, or sorry, Snow just kind of like sulks down and says, I was busy. And, you know, he wasn't there. He didn't have that pass. He didn't have this happy camaraderie time that Brass does, and it sort of ends in this somber moment. And it kind of maybe suggests partly why he's so untrusting, and he's still not quite let himself trust his team yet. So, yeah, it was a bit of a character issue for him. I think it just is here to kind of like, I won't say recap what's going on so far, but just kind of like, again, remind you of everything that's going on with the broad idea of the story, and what the key mysteries are that we're going to be coming back to. and just generally kind of like keep that cooking. But it does mean that it's like, I don't think sometimes the character issues can be the better issues if it's like really great character progression. I would say this is less character progression and more just sort of like setting up where we're going to go with progression later, which is good and it's valuable, but it's less exciting than the actual progression. And I think what this book's been so good at is that each issue's had a really cool idea on its own, a concept that they're investigating. And this issue swaps out that concept for a prose version of a backstory that's a little interesting, don't get me wrong, but ultimately isn't as exciting as any of the plots have been in the other issues. So, I think for this issue, I'd probably rate it like a 7. It's good. It's fine at what it's being, but what it's being just isn't inherently as exciting or as captivating as the issues that have preceded it. So that said, though, I'm excited for more. The cover to the next one's pretty cool, so I'm game.
The next one gets you into some more traditional comic book stuff.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, with who these characters represent that you see on the cover. So
all right. Well, I'm intrigued. I'm curious. But there you go. That's my thoughts on Planetary issue 5. Which will take us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course top 5 books. Matt, what is your panel/moment of the week?
All right. Well, it's gonna be from a Wonder Woman book, but is it from Absolute or from regular? Her dropping the sword in Absolute Wonder Woman down on the creature was really, really cool.
That's pretty badass. That
it's pretty good. Also the Who Me, or you brought her here with Etta's sister, I thought was a real nice sweet moment. But I think I have to go with the Giganta popping up through the manor. I thought that was just a great moment. So yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, that's pretty great. And I'm kind of going for the same moment, but I'm going for right before when she's like, grow bitch. I don't know. Something about that just like caught me off guard and like popped me. I'm like, it's just such a badass line.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my pick. All right. Cover of the week. I did have a little look while you were talking about Metamorpho. Main cover for Wonder Woman is very good. So I'll give that a shout out. I'll give a shout out to the Federici variant for Justice League Unlimited, which is Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. Notably characters that aren't really that featured. Well, I mean, actually, Aquaman kind of is at the end, but yeah, it doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on in the issue because they're exploring what looks like the demons from last issue, to be honest. But still, very, very nice image. That super sort of muted color palette, painted look to it. So that's great. There's also a Juan Faraya cover for Detective. With Batman in front of the moon with bats coming up. I mean, it's not an original idea for a Batman cover, but it's very just well done artwork, so cannot fault a damn thing. My pick, though, for this week is going to be the David Talaski cover for Superman, actually, which is Superman standing on the moon. Well, I presume it's the moon anyway. And it's the shading on the suit, it's the kind of the flat, painted kind of colors. It has a really cool kind of like modern sensibilities, but with an old school kind of retro future vibe to the art. It looks like the sort of painting that I'd expect to see in the halls of NASA back when they were imagining what their future was going to be. So I really like that cover. So that's my pick. What you got?
All right, so those ones you mentioned, but I also wanted to spotlight. There's a Pablo Villalobos variant for Absolute Wonder Woman that just looks, she's got the big sword and just the way that it plays with the light around her. It almost looks like she's like teleporting in through all this fire. It looks super cool the way that the lines are heavy with the colors.
I think there's something about her proportions on her shoulder and arm that feel a bit look off to me. But I mean, it's
Yeah. It looks like she's wearing football pads, right?
Yeah, do you know what it almost feels like? It almost feels like they told the artist she's got a robotic arm, right? And he didn't know what it was supposed to look like, so he's drawn this big chunky thing, which has nothing like the one that she actually wore in the issue.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm just
No, but that's the vibe there. But my pick is from Wonder Woman, and it's the Mike Del Mundo variant, where it's just a very simple image. It's got Diana sitting at a table with a cup of coffee, but she's using her lasso to do like the cat's cradle thing, and it's making a W, in there. And it's just again, it's very simple, and it kind of counters some of the darkness at the end of that issue. So I'm here for that.
So yeah, that's cool. All right, art of the week.
This is where it's tough, right?
You've got MIkel Janin, Dan Mora, Daniel Sempere, Hayden Sherman, Ryan Sook. You've got Steve Lieber as well. So there's a lot of choices here.
Right? And, do I want to make it a clean sweep for Wonder Woman Sempere because it was super strong? Do I want to go with Mora in Unlimited despite being rushed? Or do I want to go Janin for tech? And coming into this, I was just going to give it straight to Wonder Woman, and then we started talking about the art and tech. And I really like some of the balance to the images, a lot of the color work at play. So I'm going to give mine to Janin.
Really? Okay. I think I am leaning towards Wonder Woman, but I think Janin was definitely the runner-up for me. Although that said, the layouts and the epic scale of Absolute Wonder Woman is really good. It is Absolute Wonder Woman for me is like, I don't necessarily always love the style of the line work, even though it's very intentional. But everything else about it is like A+ in terms of flow, in terms of making it feel big. It's a really good example of like all the other elements of art, other than just it's pretty. There's a lot of other things going on that are very smart in that. But that said, I'm going with Sempere for Wonder Woman. All right, rank your top 5 books.
All right, so number 1's going to be Wonder Woman. 2 is Absolute Wonder Woman. 3 is Tech. 4 is Justice League Unlimited. And 5 is Superman or Black Canary. Let's go Superman.
Okay. My number 1 is Wonder Woman. My number 2 is Absolute Wonder Woman. My number 3 is Detective Comics. Number 4 is Black Canary. And then number 5 is Justice League Unlimited. Yeah, just leaving off Superman, which, it's the obvious one that I was going to leave off for me. But, all right, there you go. I will tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics, and it's nothing, pretty much. There is there's a couple of things. There's the Superman Lex Luthor special. There's the DC Rise of the Power Company issue 1, and there's the DC Lex in the City $10 anthology special. The one regular book that's coming out is Green Lantern issue 19. So I'll just remind everyone now that we will not be covering that book next week. Green Lantern 19 we're going to just let wrap into the following week's book. So we won't be reviewing that next week. We'll be doing that the week after. Because next week, we're going to do our annual episode where we do our, we discuss what the best stuff is from 2024. We'll pick best writer, best artist. We'll do a top 10 books and a couple other little things as well. So that is the plan for next week. And actually, you know what? I'm going to remember. There will be a form. There will be a voting form that goes out. Probably not with the Patreon version of this, but I will make sure it's ready for the public release of this episode, where you can submit your votes. I'll put the link in the description on YouTube. I'll make sure it's on the Discord. I'll post it on the YouTube community tab and stuff like that. But where you can vote for your best writer, best artist, in top 10 books. And there'll be some community results in the episode. I forgot to do this last year, and I put the link out after, and I just did the results on like a regular episode. But so let's hope I remember to do that before tomorrow when this goes public. But that's the plan.
If you don't see it, bully Pete.
Yeah, if you don't see it, just yell at me, and I'll try and get out at enough time. But thank you very much for joining us, everyone. That is the show. You can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and help keep the show coming. You can like, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah. Joe, you can comment on podcasts on Spotify now, but I don't get like notifications if someone does it. So yeah, I'll have to start like checking the recent couple of episodes. But if someone commented on like an old episode, like I'm never going to see it. Like it's just never going to happen. But interesting that you can see that. So yeah, give us a good rating on Spotify because they have a 5-star system as well. And I never really noticed that, and I was just sort of seeing what our average is for the various things that I've got on their podcast feed wise. All very favorable, might I add. But it's interesting seeing that stuff. But that is us. That is the show. Thank you very much for joining us. I am so sleep deprived, guys. I'm not going to lie that when Matt was talking about Metamorpho, I was straight up dozing off. I was like catching myself falling asleep. So I am going to go pass out. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.